Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to Wednesday's edition of Birds 365 here. Coming off of Week 14 in the NFL, where the Eagles lost their third straight game, and we now move into Week 15, preparing for the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. Will the Eagles be able to snap their 3-game streak? I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. Don't forget to drop a like button on the show today. Let's get to 250 likes, and drop your comments down below, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. John, plenty to talk about on a Wednesday edition here after a Monday night loss. How you doing this Wednesday morning, my friend?
I'm doing fine. The city is collapsing, evidently, because of the Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, it's wild. It's been a wild couple of days out there. Just seeing clips and takes and all that kind of stuff. But the sky is falling. Chicken Little is out. So we'll see if the Eagles can get some confidence building wins against some pretty poor football teams as they head down the stretch this season. Only got one good one.
Will they be able to get that confidence, or will it all be shut down if you lose these type of games to teams that are much more inferior to you? John, yesterday you were right. You were like, yeah, you don't really have time to sleep on it when you're up till 3 a.m. Now that you've slept on it another day here, where are you on the Eagles' third straight loss on Monday night that they lost, and obviously got the Raiders coming up? You just pointed it out. 4 games left. 3 of them pretty damn easy in my eyes. What'd you make of it now, another day removed, John, from the loss?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I actually I'm not torn. I think, and I said it yesterday, I think the Eagles tried to placate other people, which I never think is a good strategy. And they play generally. And we're talking offensively. Obviously, nobody talks about the defense, which played well, but it has played poorly at times. But they're obviously coming off a well-played game. So I get it. Nobody's going to talk about the defense. But offensively, yeah, I heard a stunning amount of people, like a lot of positives because of what they did. And they increased 11 personnel. They ran crossing routes. So, they know what that is. The high school coaches know what crossing routes is. They added some things, dig routes, things over the middle. And so I heard quite a few people, saw clips of some of them high profile, saying, a lot of positive. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Because I mean, that's how I want to play. I feel like everybody's like, this is the way I think you should play. So there's a lot of positives. Okay. You saw the way they played. They don't play that way. So they're throwing the football all over the place. They're throwing the middle field. You got tipped footballs. You got receivers falling down. What happened? Interception. 40-2 when you win the turnover battle. That's why I said, go back to your boring bullshit. If you want to win, now, if you want to evolve and you want to be better down the road, and this is about 2026, which I don't get, yeah, keep trying to go. Keep trying to increase that margin of error. Keep trying to do it. Keep trying to improve. But to do it during the season in Week 14, now Week 15, you're going to continue it, maybe. Who knows? Go try to win the game.
So do you think it's a negative thing? Because I did see Dan Orlovsky talk about this, where the Eagles are doing other concepts.
Well, Dan's in love with it.
So things that can build. So you think it's more of a net negative because it revealed why they don't play this way in the first place?
Exactly. They turned it over 5 times, and he's thrilled. Does that make sense to anybody?
Because there's more complexity to the offense. I mean, I guess the idea there would be if you get more. You have more complexity to your offense, and you can hone down the turnovers. Maybe you're more effective coming out.
Well, that sounds like preseason stuff to me, not December. Again, off-season stuff. Yeah, I'm all for it. Off-season, let's ship this thing. That's the way you want to go. I don't know, man. You know, we talk about identity. This team is this people. They don't have an identity. They had an identity. You didn't like it. Most people. Now they don't have an identity.
They were struggling to find one early, though. No, I mean because the identity for the offense
They weren't
has always been
struggling to find it. They were struggling with it.
right. They were struggling to execute it.
Yes, they had an identity the whole time. Now, because they're struggling, they struggled to execute it like they did last year. Now it's about, oh, we got, all the staples you've heard over the years. We got this and we have this, so we should be able to do this, even though there's no evidence you've ever been able to do that on a consistent basis, which is the reason you scale back to the identity you do have. And now here we are again. And you saw it live in living color.
Well, do you think the Eagles have a similar thought process to you where, okay, this is why we don't play this way. Let's go back to what we do. Let's stop turning the ball over and let's win. And, I mean, on the 3-game losing streak, they've had more turnovers in the 3-game losing streak than they had, I think, in the combined 8 wins that they've had this year. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying it,
No, it is. They were, they've turned it over 9 times in this 3-game losing streak, and I think the number was 7 or 8 coming into it. So yeah, I mean, but are they going to go back? I mean, maybe. I have no idea.
Well, how did the Eagles get Jalen to play, more up to his standard this year? Because I think everybody can agree that, whether you love Jalen or you don't like Jalen, that was an uncharacteristic game. All right. That's not who Jalen is week in and week out. That's never been who he's been since he's ever been a quarterback, turning the ball over at that clip. What do the Eagles have to do, in your opinion, to get him to play his best version of football for the 2025 Eagles? Is it simple? Is it go back to the simple? I mean, is there anything they can do within the simple? What do you got, John, to get Jalen? Because that game was on Monday night was not who Jalen is. That was a bad game, obviously. We all know that. But
and part of it,
yeah, I didn't get him back to a level where your team can go back and compete and try and make a run in this thing.
Well, I mean, part of it is it's just a bad game, and he's going to have not going to have consistently bad games like that.
He's had a pretty bad stretch, though. That was the worst of the games, but he's been off his game for sure. I would say for 3 to 5 weeks.
Well,
if
you look at two of the interceptions, I mean, they're not on him. You got the AJ drop. Granted, the ball, you'd like it to be a better thrown ball, but he's got to catch that, where he's got to at least drop it where he's not tipping it in the middle of the field. And then Devontae slipped. There's good ball placement there. People don't know it because he slipped. And that's the dangers of some of the things that people want to see. So that's baked into it. Your turnovers are going to increase no matter what. And then the other stuff, I think his worst decision was the overtime decision, because he made 2 bad decisions on one play. Should have, it's an RPR, so he should have handed it off, number one, because Khalil Mack stayed flat. You hand it off. You get 5 yards inside. Saquon breaks a tackle, might be a touchdown. Game over. Who knows?
Yeah, somebody pointed out they ran that play in the first half too, and it worked successfully there. He threw it to the flat to Goddard.
Or yeah, and that's the second worst. Then you have generally, and I don't know, maybe someone will tell me. Generally they're high-low reads, but with an RPR, it's probably low-high. So you get it right out to the flat, and you get 5 yards, whatever he's going to get it if you throw it on time. And then the high read was the one he went with. And not to mention that Khalil Mack was all over him, so he didn't get as much as he wanted to on the football. And then also the Chargers, Cam Hart made a great play, so you have to give him credit as well. But he made 2 bad decisions on one play. So that to me was the worst, and it was the play that lost the game. And then, he got fooled by the defensive lineman dropping. That happens. That's why they do it. But again, you're thrown over the middle of the field, which he generally isn't comfortable with. Bad things happen.
He did have a couple good throws in the middle. You mean that
He
third and
did.
16 throw in overtime
Yeah.
to Devontae Smith after the penalty? That was a really good throw, and that throw to the end zone. Obviously, we talked about at the end of regulation, not over the middle of the field, but still a great throw. He had a couple good throws out there. I mean, he did, but obviously, it's going to be overshadowed by the interception. So you think two of the interceptions weren't as bad as maybe it appears to him on the stat sheet?
Oh, no doubt. I think everybody knows AJ, and AJ said it himself. He's got to come down with that, even though, as I said, you prefer that it would be a better thrown ball. And then Devontae slipped. I mean, that happens all the time. And there's all there's all some of the most ugly interceptions you see in the NFL aren't even quarterback's fault, because the receiver either runs the wrong routes, or they fall, or they slip, and you're watching the thing in real time and you're like, wow, that was a terrible throw. And so I think 2 of the 4 obviously weren't his fault, and then the fumble was his fault, but again, that's coming off the internet. That was just weird.
Yeah, that was it's still 1 turnover, that play, right? I mean, it was 2 listed, but they only turned the ball over once, technically.
Yeah, I mean, it's for stat purposes, it's 2, but
right.
Again, stats don't tell the whole story. But yeah, I mean, so there are plays that happen because you're playing that style of football. And you don't normally play that style of football, and I think those happen. And then there's legitimate bad plays, and he didn't play well. By no means am I trying to say he played well, and Mike Gill needs the link, by the way.
I talked to him.
So anyway, yeah, I think clearly, but when your stat sheet says 5 turnovers, that's part of doing business. If you want to be a high volume passing team, that's part of, you're going to have these games. And by the way, to come in again, this defense on the road, like, what are we doing? Who are we trying to placate? That's my question. If I'm the Eagles.
That's the thing to me. I mean, you got that great zone defense. That's one of the best pass defenses in pro football. By the way, Raiders are a heavy zone team too, and Pete Carroll's undefeated versus the Eagles. Make of that what you will. John, question for you. What is it more of a credit to the Eagles that they have 5 turnovers in a game and they're right in it with a chance to win multiple times at the end of regulation and the end of overtime? Or is it more of a knock on the Chargers? Because with all of the negative we saw in that game, the Eagles, I mean, one A.J. Brown, it was a tough catch. That corner was draped all over him, but, I'm used to A.J. making that catch. One A.J. catch there, or, a better read from Hurts on that end of that overtime. They had every chance to win that football game, even with all of the turnovers. Is that a credit to the Eagles? How do you view that part of it?
Well, it's a credit to the Eagles defense, but it's both, because the Chargers were very limited because of their offensive line and their quarterback having surgery the previous Monday. So they were tremendously limited. So it's a combination of both, but that was a tremendous pass rushing performance just in general. And I'm not talking about the sacks. I'm talking about the consistent pressure. And, you could tell Vic felt it, and, he went with it, and they just were incompetent. Take out the 60-yard throw early in the game, which was kind of a just little blown coverage thing late in the play, and you lose track of the running back coming out of the backfield. He gets 60 yards. They couldn't do anything offensively. And you have to give Justin Herbert a ton of credit for running the football late in the game and setting the Eagles up with some of those RPOs and getting yardage running the football, because he's more athletic than people think. So you do have to give him credit for that. Everybody called him a warrior, and he is, and top dude and all that, but they are going nowhere unless they can fix their pass protection issues. And I don't know how they fix them because they don't have tackles. So kind of both, but they were very, very limited. So that made it easier for the Eagles defense.
Yeah. John, you haven't been very hard on Petula this year, and that you've already explained why, over and over again. I'm not going to make you do that. But my question for you on Petula today is, and you can include Nick in this, how are they doing at the parts of the job that are not play calling? Everybody hones in on play calling, but in my opinion, it's a bigger job than just that. How do you think Kevin Petula is handling the entire scope of the job? I think fans judge play calling. That's really it, That's it for an offensive coordinator. All right.
I don't judge play calling. They just play.
But is he doing everything else ready? Is he preparing ready?
No,
right.
No,
is he doing good things in the meeting? Like, are you hearing anything about that? Do you have any information on that? How do you evaluate Kevin Petula with all the other things he's supposed to be doing? Because it is a big switch. I mean, to go from a pass game coordinator and assistant to the head coach to the offensive coordinator is a big switch for him.
I mean, no, you don't. There's lip service. Kenny Pickett famously said, "Well, this is the guy. This is in the Super Bowl week. This is our secret weapon. He's so important to the offense. Yada yada." It's like, who cares? But as far as preparation, this team doesn't look prepared offensively. The quarterback doesn't look prepared.
Kind of what I was getting at there, yeah.
The quarterback doesn't seem comfortable ever. So, I mean, all that's on Nick and Kevin and Scott Leffler as well, if you want to throw him in because of the great Bowling Green tape. So, no, by no means. I take umbrage to your I haven't been hard on him. I think I've been hard on him in the places he deserved. Again, I'm never gonna cede an inch on the bullshit. I think it's the worst discussion in NFL talk, any show, anywhere on the planet.
I got no problem with you sticking your ground on it. That's why I tried to give you a different angle just to look at some of the other things that that job entails.
Teaching it, I bring up with Sean Desai and Vic Fangio. Sean Desai ran Vic Fangio's defense, ran Vic Fangio's defensive scheme. Was one of Vic's right-hand men in Chicago. Knew everything about that particular, but can you teach it? Can you teach it? Can you get the players that need to do what they need to do in obviously stressful immediate situations? And the answer was no. It was completely overmatched. So, I think everybody's got the wrong focus. If you want to criticize the coaching staff, and I said that pretty consistently, and here, if you want to criticize the coaching staff, criticize them for going away from their identity and trying, I don't know, because they'll never admit it. Oh, we gotta do this. For what? Why? If you play the way you normally play, you get out of there with a 2-score win against this team. Now, you're having the same discussions. It's probably ugly. People are saying, they can't do anything on offense. But, the Chargers were so limited. That was a bowling pin. Knock it over. The only reason they didn't knock it over is because they went out of their normal selves. Which, again, the
only thing I'd push back on there is I don't know what evidence you have that they'd win by 2 scores. They haven't won a game by 2 scores, I don't think, this year. Maybe the Giants game, that's it.
Well, the evidence is if you don't turn it over 5 times and you say you turn it over once or twice, you're winning by 2 scores. I mean, that's the evidence.
Yeah, I get that. I just, in theory, yes. I don't know if they are because they don't win any games.
Well, everything's theory if you don't do it. I mean, but they're not turning it over. They might turn it over 2 times because they're playing poorly, as they did the prior weeks. I'm not saying it's going to be 0 because they are playing poorly, but it ain't going to be 5. So I mean, and again, that because of the situation, not that they're a bad football team, because of the situation they're in, the Chargers were so limited offensively, you're going to win that game by 2 scores. Again, maybe I'm not saying 14 points. It might be 8 points. It might be 9 points. Excuse me. Got to get it over 8. Might be 10, whatever. They're going to win that game. But got to make Dan happy. Got to make so-and-so happy. And by the way, they are happy. That's I'm sitting there watching clips. I'm going, what are we doing here? A lot of positives.
Orlovsky was pumped.
Oh, they're running crossing routes. They're running dig routes, which, by the way, I thought they weren't in the playbook.
Yeah, they're in there.
Where'd that go?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, John. Get back to what they do best and win that way. All right, John, good stuff. We got Mike Gill in the green room. I can't wait to hear what Mike Gill's got to say. Every week we talk to Mike, and it's like this team wins and they lose. Now their third straight loss. You know, they had 2 stretches of 2 straight losses. Now they have their third straight loss, and it's getting uglier. Let's go to Mike Gill right now and see what Mike Gill has to say. You can follow him at Mike Gill Show. Go and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Type in on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Listen to him on 97.3 ESPN down the shore. Mike, what's going on, man? How you doing this Wednesday morning?
Just got back inside from taking out my trash. It felt like watching the Eagles game on Monday night.
You got a different mic connected, Mike. Your mic's a little low.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's all right. It'll work. I think it's your headset. Normally I get the loud Mike Gill voice. People love the Mike Gill voice.
The booming
I'm not
voice.
wearing a headset.
No, is that in your
I
ear?
got the same setup as always. I don't know.
No, all right, it's fine. It's all good. No worries. I can hear you. You're
Technology
clear
is
enough.
the bane of all our existence. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work well. But it's
It's
fine.
like I do this every single week, and I don't know. Yeah, maybe is this better? Is that
There
better?
you go.
There you go. There's the key Mike Gill voice. So we got it back. That's positive. Now, can we get back the Eagles offense, Mike Gill?
It depends on how you want to look at this thing, right? I mean, if you watch the game on Monday night, you saw. I think the fact that Hurts had 5 turnovers, the one's a wonky fumble on that one. So he really had like 4 legit turnovers. And if you want to just simply look at saying, he threw 4 interceptions, he was terrible, that would be fair. I mean, I think some of them were bad decisions. You know, the tackle drops in, he doesn't see that guy. The other one on the Smith throw, A.J. Brown, I think that's probably a ball that A.J. probably should catch. The one on the final play of the game can be talked about a lot. He probably should have handed the ball off in that situation or hit Goddard underneath. He had a couple different options. He took the worst option. So I don't think he played great in the game. Now, there's been a lot of discussion, and we talked about this yesterday on our Football at 4 segment, which was they did a lot of different things in their offense. So I think people are like, crushing Hurts, but isn't this what you all wanted to see? More of this, more of that, more of the other thing. And either A, the quarterback isn't equipped to do those things, or B, this was the first week of them implementing new things and he'll eventually get it. Which one do you like better? Or do you want them to go back to the simplicity that won them the Super Bowl? Which option do the people watching want today? We had this discussion, me and my buddy all the time. He's an idiot, okay? He says he'd rather be entertained and have them be aesthetically pleasing. And I'm like, they win 3-0 all season long as they win. Why would you complain with that? So I think people are almost more enamored with the aesthetics of the game.
Oh, I think there's more people like him. Maybe not as honest as him, but there's more people like him than the opposite.
I don't care at all what the aesthetics of the game look like from week to week. You just got to find ways to get out of there. Now, big picture, is it sustainable? For the Eagles, the simplicity of what they do is sustainable for them because that's who they are and that's what they've done so well. For whatever reason, it's not working as well this year. So can you stick with that? You know, it's where last week in the Hard Knocks where Sirianni says, we just got to keep sticking with what we do. That, like, just keep doing it. Well, at what point, how many weeks into the season is sticking with what you do and it not working the moment where you have to now figure something else out? And I think they're hitting that moment of, do we keep the course Or do we just do something that we really don't want to do at this moment here because what we've done in the past is not working? And I think they're kind of at that threshold right now. The weird part is they pulled it out on Monday Night Football in a pretty important game of, hey, let's just try this and see
with the best zone defense in football.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, we got the Raiders coming up. Maybe that's the week we want to. Now, this week against the Raiders, they should be able to hand the ball off 60 times and just run the game out like normal. But, yeah, I mean, I think this season's been a microcosm of them trying to be what they've been. It's not working. And then in the moments, I thought they made a great point on Monday night, and I talked about this a lot. They usually would run the game out. They could not run that game out the other night. They just could not. They have no confidence in their run game. 3rd down and 2, they never run the ball anymore. They throw it all the time. They're on the 2-yard line. They run the ball. They get stuffed. They go right back to the pass. They get a holding penalty. Now they have to throw again. They have no confidence in their run game, which has been who they've been literally the entire Sirianni era. They have been a team that runs the football except for the first 7 games of his tenure. And in the moments where the run game would bail them out this season, they have gotten away from it. And I think it's one of the big problems that we know their line has been a problem and they can't run the ball. Their run game, the lack of confidence that they have in their run game has been really standing out in key moments. Because if they just run the game out the other night, I mean, that's what they did a year ago. That's what they've always done.
Did have 6 a carry. I know you had that big one. You're going to take that out, but I don't like doing that because that was a part of the formula. This is my pushback, or at least my perspective on, because you and John both said something similar where it's like, go back to what you do where you're winning all these games. My question there is, are we confident that would win them as many games at this point and into the playoffs this year as it did for them a year ago? If you go back to this year, before they started passing the ball in the 3-game losing streak when they were 8-2.
Yeah.
Everybody was still concerned. They were a leader of the league in 3-and-outs. The offense, they really didn't win any game handily except for that Giants game, which was, the New York Giants. Mm-hmm. I think there's like an expectation that if they just go back to the simple, they'll keep winning more. I felt like that margin was getting closer and closer and closer and closer.
It was.
Is it fair to assume that if they went back to that, they just win every game?
No, but I would say look at the games that they've played this year. Green Bay is the 1 seed right now. There's not many more teams that you can beat that are above Green Bay. And the game was 10-7. I get it. It's not like they didn't turn the ball over against Green Bay. The margin is small, but they still are better than you. Detroit, they don't turn the ball over. They only scored 16 points, but the margin is we're better than you. You have to be perfect because we're perfect. And most teams can't be perfect because they want to try and do things, and then they make that one back-breaking error or mistake that the Eagles haven't made. So even in these close, ugly games, the difference between Green Bay, Detroit, and Dallas and Chicago is what? They made mistakes versus Dallas and Chicago that they didn't make against Detroit and Green Bay. They don't make the mistakes against those teams. And at the end, the aesthetics are ugly, but they won. They made mistakes against the other 2 teams, and the result was a loss. And you saw that against the Chargers. You turned the ball over 5 times. You shouldn't even be close to in that game, especially against a playoff team. The Chargers may be one. They're banged up. They got all sorts of problems. But you turn the ball over 5 times, you shouldn't be in that game. But if the Eagles don't turn the ball over like normal, that game's not close. They win 24-7, so
2 scores, 3
right,
scores.
The simplicity of their game is what other teams, it's almost like a college team having to get ready for Navy. They never see it.
I made that comp. Yeah, I've made that.
They never see it. A team just being very basic. And what the Eagles have always done well is execute. They out-executed you with and that's why they didn't make the mistakes. And at the end of the day, you look at the scoreboard, 10-7. But they won. Why? Because they never gave you the extra possession. And the last 3 weeks now, listen to this crazy number. Up to the Dallas game, they had 8 turnovers the entire season. 8 the entire year. They had 5 the other night.
Yep.
They have 9 turnovers in the last 3 games. They had 8 the previous weeks. Those turnovers are too much for them to overcome. And, it's whether or not you want to go back to being the 8 turnover team over the 12-week span and just making it look ugly, or do you want them to try to keep evolving this offense so that they can possibly get into a shootout?
I agree. And hey, I'm one who says I'm in that camp. I think everybody's in that camp, which is you want to be able to do certain things better in the passing game. I don't know why anybody wouldn't be in that camp. But also,
well, I'll tell you what, I'll be the first one that says you have Brown and Smith. How do you go home at night if you're Kevin Patullo and say, I'm doing a great job here? I don't know how
you might know the quarterback's limited.
Okay, well, last night during Hard Knocks, I'm not sure how many people watch this, but
I watched it. Man, that show is royally stupid. But
it's very slow. It's very slow. It's not giving you much. You're absolutely right. But there's a couple takeaways. The one takeaway is there's a moment where Schottenheimer says, let's get 88-3 involved. They're our guys. He's telling the coordinator to call those plays. Get those 2 guys going. That's what we need. And this is what we talk about with the Eagles all the time is, Patullo's calling the plays. There's a moment where Sirianni's like, keep running it at him. Keep pounding them, Kevin. So we always want to try to blame the coordinator for these things and the play calling. This is a collaborative effort from everybody. It's Sirianni. It's Stoutland. It's Patullo. And by the way, at the end of the exclamation point, it's Jalen Hurts. He's the guy that's on the top of that list of what I want to run and when I want to run it. But you saw Dallas right there in the moment where the coach says, get 88-3 involved. They are our guys. So the Eagles have to have their moments where they're like, get 11-6 involved. They are our guys. You know what I mean?
I thought about that too, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I kept thinking is,
well,
okay.
Here's the thing.
Real quick, though, for both of you, I guess the big question then is like, without the run game, is the conservative approach good enough to win, in the playoffs? Because they didn't have the run game when they were doing the conservative. I know they were winning, but they didn't have the run game when they were doing the conservative approach. Now, maybe the run game comes on at the end of the year, but if you assume that what it's been through 12 weeks is what it's going to be, or 14 weeks now, what is what it's going to be through the rest of the year, is the conservative approach good enough for the playoffs? That's my big question.
Well, I don't have a lot of faith that this run game is about to break through. The offensive line is what it is. Lane Johnson, now this is interesting. Like, we just wrote him off that he probably wouldn't be back. If he comes back and plays this week, that would be a pretty aggressive timeline to get him back. Because the other night, you're running counter into Tyler Steen and Fred Johnson. Like, let's take a look at the other. Now, Landon Dickerson hasn't been great this year either. I get that. But those 2 guys have played next to each other for the last 3 seasons. Like, let's go behind those 2 guys, Mailata and Dickerson, and see if we can get going. And by the way, they moved to the left side and had some success on a couple of runs that Saquon got going. The play that he breaks the touchdown, that's kind of a wonky variation of a push that maybe – but it's something that they don't do all that often. They ran outside the tackle box, right? Everything they run is so predictable because it's between these guards. It's like between the 5 and 3 hole over here. It's like everything's coming right here in the middle of the field. This one, they quick pitch it to the outside, and he hits that corner, and bang, you saw Saquon Barkley again. And it was like, whoa. They never go to the outside. Nothing's out there. Everything's right stuck in the middle. I don't have a lot of faith that their offensive line is ready to just say, all right, put it on our shoulders. We're back. I don't feel that way, to go back to your point about the run game kind of helping them out.
Yeah, well, if I revert back to what you were saying about get 88. Number one, that's what I like about those Hard Knock shows. I always bring up Hal Mummy. I tell that conversation all the time. Old college coach, people might remember. Tim Couch's coach set all kind of records.
Yeah, Kentucky.
He was an offensive coordinator, I think, in the old XFL, whatever, Dallas, I believe. And, they had the coaches mic'd up so you could hear the play calls. and I very few people watched it, obviously, but I thought it was interesting, and I've told the story on Mike's show. I don't know if you remember it. They were really running the football, and his play call was do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again until they stop it. And I thought it was interesting for people to see. It's not what you think it is. It really is just you have something, keep pinning on it. But to your point about get 88 and 3 involved for Schottenheimer, or Shotty, as Kirk Herbstreit will say 100 times during the broadcast. Back before Nick Sirianni became so guarded, so this was his rookie season as a coach. He told a story about Larry Karras, who people have mentioned, his mentor, his Mount Union coach. And his first interview he ever had to become a coach. And Larry Karras asked him, all right, what kind of offense you want to run? And he started going into it, and he said, stopped him. He said, you don't even know what players you have. And from that moment forward, he was a point of, and I've seen this. I have seen an Eagles play card, a play, whatever you want to call it. There are, and back then it was 6 and 88. It was Devontae. They didn't have AJ yet. There was a whole section for Devontae Smith as a rookie receiver. Whole section for Dallas Goedert to get them involved. Mm-hmm. Now it's 11, 6, and 88. It goes in that order. AJ, Devontae. They do that. I know it for a fact.
Yeah.
Like it is the most overrated part of football. And I'm talking about people talking about football. We got so many. We got a comment after the game. What a terrible play call the interception was to end the game. And again, but I saw a media person who I will not mention. What a terrible play call. He had 4 options on that play call.
And he chose the wrong one 3 times in all of it. I mean, the run's there. His own run is there if he wants. What
got an RPR. It's an RPR. The Eagles, other people called an RPO. They called an RPR because it could be run, it could be pass, it could be run again on the back end. He
had 3 options that he could have chosen before he chose the one that he ended up with that would have all been successful. And in 2022, I used to marvel at the fact that he made the right decision on when to hold, when to keep, when to throw, like 95% of the time. It felt like he was just constantly clicking perfectly on when to give it to Miles, when to pull it, when to throw it. He had the run there to Barkley. He could have kept it himself and taken off. He had the underneath to Goddard there, and that gets you inside the 5-yard line. And he chose, of the 4 options, he chose the option that had the highest level of difficulty. Now, by the way, the defensive player also made a pretty damn good play.
Yeah, great play. Great play by Cam Hart. But
but that's all night. Like, there's so many times as we see where, obviously Aikman points these things out. Well, he's missing a guy right here. He's missing a guy. He has a lot of chances in this offense, whatever you want to think of this offense, where there are guys where he can just say, I'm going to take the quick, easy thing. It always seems that he's holding for something better, bigger. When I always just like the one play that I really liked the other night, he throws a quick out to A.J. Brown. Brown catches it. He's one-on-one with the corner. He makes that guy miss immediately. First down, right up the sideline there. Those plays where you're getting the ball out fast to your playmakers and then making the other team have to tackle A.J. Brown. That's not a spot that they want to be in. So quick to him, one-on-one, bang, those little slants. We see the timing. He can do it. We see it often, but we don't see it often enough where you're like, now he's in a rhythm. Now he's bang. 1, 2, 3, bang. 1, 2, 3, there it is. That part of the offense is the perplexing part of when you do it and it works, why do you not go back to it or stay with it or, feature it?
Well, I think he's very hesitant. I think the ball doesn't come out on time, so there's lack of consistency. Not that he can't do it, but again, you're a 10th
that's what I'm saying.
off.
You see that he has it in him where he can go bang right to you, bang right to you. He throws that pass to Smith on the first down, the third down play to get that first down late in the game. And that's a timing where he just rips it in there. And you would think like an NBA guy who's in the heater, like, all right, I got my shot now. Any spot on the floor, I'm ripping it. And it feels like Hurts can't get into that, like, I got it, you're there, bang. And it's just like, even like the shittiest of quarterbacks, you see guys are just like, okay, I got a little 1, 2, 3, bang, 1, 2, 3 over the middle. And you're like, you get into some sort of rhythm.
People are different, man. I'll tell you, who I always go back to, and Mike and I have had our battles over the Sixers in the process, Ben Simmons. A lot of people forget, Mike might even forget, like, I was very high on Ben Simmons. I thought he was the key to it all.
He just didn't work out.
Well, even more than Joel Embiid, because of the way NBA basketball was going. I thought having the player on the floor was more important than the big man in the modern NBA. Still think that way. But it didn't even register in my mind. People would bring up, well, he doesn't shoot the ball. He doesn't like to shoot the ball. And I'm like, yeah, they'll figure that out. He's an NBA player. He's a tremendous athleticism. He's got all the talent in the world. He'll figure that out. He'll gain the He went the other way. You can't figure that stuff. That's literally a psychological issue. To all of us, I look at somebody with that kind of talent and I go, what do you mean he's afraid to shoot the ball? That he'll figure that. That won't be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out it was a big bucket problem.
It was a big problem, right? Yeah, listen, and I guess you feel like a guy who has been the MVP of the Super Bowl, was second in the MVP voting, has shown a propensity to be a elite level player in the moments, that wouldn't be a mental block or a problem for him. Like that's the oddity here, is you do have a guy who already has the credentials. Ben never quite got to. I mean, he had
plenty of credentials early. I think early in the, how many times was he an all-star?
Listen, Ben is we could have a 4-hour discussion on that, and we could probably say we need another 4 hours. That said, he was a guy who did seemingly have at some point a blockage that hindered him. Are we saying that Hurts is having that same blockage now?
Well, I'm not saying to that degree. There's that's
not to that degree.
That's a true anomaly. Like when Steve Sachs all of a sudden couldn't throw the ball from second base. You have these true anomalies but they emphasize what can happen. And right now you got a guy who just doesn't feel comfortable doing things.
And the other interesting point about where Hurts is in his career, okay, you look at the game the other night, Herbert, 10 carries, 66 yards, and he's not running around because he's an idiot. He's running around because
he's kind of
in that moment, that's what the play called for.
Yeah.
He had nothing, and then he said, the best option right now is me. And his 10 carries for 66 yards, almost every one of those 66 yards was backbreaking. It was extending the drive. He needed 4, he got 4. He needed 7, he got 7, right? And Jalen has taken that out. And I say, these quarterbacks, they play to get paid. They get paid, and now you're paying for a guy that you didn't actually – that's not the guy you paid. You paid Jalen because he was this dynamic player in both the run and the passing game. Well, now you've got his $250 million, and you're like, well, we don't want to run him anymore. Well, then you shouldn't have paid him because you got a different quarterback all of a sudden.
Do you think it's him?
I don't know. That's a good question.
You watched that game the other night, Mike? I mean, I don't know. I'm only speculating. I can't speak to it, but Justin Herbert's got a broken hand, and this dude's breaking off run. I mean, Justin Herbert might be a better thrower of the football than Jalen, and he's very athletic for his size.
Yeah,
he's not a better runner than Jalen, or at least he shouldn't be a better runner than Jalen.
By the way, and I should have brought this up. I mean, and I don't know if it's the case, but it is week 14 going into week 15. Maybe he's banged up. I don't know why I didn't bring it up, but I thought about it. I said, yeah, I mean,
well, I mean, that's fine to say now, but he hasn't done it all year. So was he banged up in week 1 through 8? I don't know, but it's
well,
fair.
no, it's down. I think it's a combination of things. It's down from the perspective of they were trying to manage him better. But in
That's the
recent
thing.
weeks,
You're trying to manage a guy that you paid because he was great doing this, and now you're saying we don't want him to be we don't want him to do the thing that he was that made us want to sign him
well,
because he was
but
great.
I think you see it in overtime. You do see little glints where it says, "All right, I got to go. I got to
Sure,
go
and
make
I'm
a
not saying you
play."
need to be reckless. Jackson Dart's going to get himself killed out there. We're
Yeah.
not asking that he just, but there are moments where it's third down.
But I
You're
think
holding,
you look at a
you're
particular game like Justin Herbert shouldn't be able to run the football like Jalen Hurts, but I think it's like everybody's cognizant of how good Jalen Hurts is to run the ball. Like if you want to there's not many criticisms you can make of that defense on that particular game because partially because the Chargers were so limited.
holding.
One criticism I would make as it became clear late in the game that they couldn't do anything in the passing game because they couldn't pass protect at all.
Yeah.
Why is there no sort of
Spy.
more emphasis on stopping? Because it became obvious to me at a certain point he's just going to pull the ball down and look for the space and try to run the football.
Yeah, right. Which he did.
Shouldn't they have made that adjustment?
And that is an intuition of, listen, my guys aren't there. I'm the best option here. And there's a lot of times throughout the course of these games where on third down, I'm not saying you have to go crazy on first down, but how many times there's a moment in that game the other night, I forget what the down and distance was, but I said, if you watch this same game last year before, they're running quarterback draw, opening out, and Jalen's just taking a step back and moving forward. I don't remember the last time I've seen that play, maybe early in the year.
Well, they ran a couple quarterback draws over. I think they ran it both in Dallas and Chicago. I believe. Now, not
Maybe.
a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
But it used to be a goal line staple for them where he would just go, right through up the middle there. It just, a lot of the design stuff from him is out. Okay, fine. My point is you want to protect him. You don't want him running like crazy. But then you don't have to call the design stuff for him. But on the third down plays, that's where your team needs you to improvise a little bit at times. And I think there was multiple moments in that game that he could help them get that first down, and he's not taking it. And we know this. As soon as he rolls out towards that sideline, that play is over. I've never seen anything like it. As soon as he gets out of that pocket, I've never seen him make that on the run.
That's most quarterbacks. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Geez.
Like you see really, really bad quarterbacks when their eyes go down, the play's over. I mean, the play's over. It's one thing. And when they start blushing instead of climbing, the play's over. Bad. I'm talking about really bad quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But Jalen, what he's doing. At times, nothing's there, and he's just going to throw it out at the last minute. The one guy, who's really good at that, Caleb Williams, man.
Yeah,
you got to get him.
You watch Caleb Williams throw. He made a throw the other night. Now it was out of bounds. I mean, he just threw it away.
Yeah.
But his flick reminds me.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
It's like Michael Vick, where he just flicks his wrist and the thing goes flying.
Yeah.
But I think Hurts. Listen, we do all these. When you're on the air in July and August, and the lists come out, and then people are perplexed that Jalen Hurts isn't in the top, whatever. And I'm like, because he doesn't belong there. That's like you put a list together, and it's not based on accomplishments. These people put lists together based on skill set and who they would want because of their skills. Like back in the day, I'm 48 years old. So like Jeff George never won anything, but he would always be the guy that Jeff George, because he had this unbelievable arm. Jalen Hurts is not in the conversation of skill set elite. He's not like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and all those guys that everybody wants to lump him in there with. His reasoning to be lumped in with them is his accomplishments and what he has been able to accomplish in terms of being a winner and the moments that he's had. And look, the other night, you're watching that game, he's playing terrible, and in the back of your mind, I'm thinking he's played really bad tonight, but this is the game where he's going to make something happen. And then he makes that throw to A.J. Brown, and you're like, that's the throw, and A.J. doesn't catch it. So there are the moments of where
the 3rd and 16 to Devontae Smith in overtime. I thought, all right, here it is.
Exactly.
I told Zander, like, I'm gonna have that conversation after the game of he played shitty and he made a play when it counted.
Exactly. And at that moment, you're thinking he's played so bad, but somehow he's going to pull this game out because you've seen it 100 times where that's where he belongs in that conversation, because he doesn't wilt under the pressure. That's generally why he would be in that conversation. But throughout the rest of the game, he's really not in that conversation. So it's a weird dynamic. I talk about this on my radio show the other day. You walk into a bar in New England and say Tom Brady's name, you'll get universal acceptance. Indianapolis, say Peyton Manning's name, you'll get universal acceptance. Bourbon Street, say Drew Brees, not one complaint. You go to a bar in South Philly, bring up Jalen Hurts, you're going to have an argument for 5 hours on this guy stinks. No, he's great.
That's the truest thing I've ever heard, man. That's the true. I talking to the post office guy about this very same thing. I walk into the post office and wear my JAKIB hat. The guy at the post office knows me. And he's like, man, what's our quarterback doing, man? What's he doing out there? I'm like, oh, please, man, save it for me. Save it.
But that's the thing is, when you walk into certain towns and bring up the quarterback and they are up there, there's no argument. You say Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City barbecue, having a Kansas City barbecue, there's not one person saying the guy stinks.
There's always one. That's the only part I'll disagree with. There's always one. Somebody in New Orleans hates Drew Brees. Somebody in Indy hates Peyton.
They are way in the minority, as opposed to you walk into your favorite bar in down the shore on a summer night and start talking about Jalen Hurts on that list. Some people would say he doesn't belong to be in the top 10, and the other half would say, what are you talking about? He's number 5. I mean, he is the most polarizing discussion. The whole team put Sirianni as the head coach. Aikman said it the other night. He's got the best resume over a 4-year span of any coach in the history of the game. And yet, I mean, there are people that would have no problem with him being dismissed.
I think even more so than Jalen. I say that all the time. I'm convinced he could beat Sean McVay 10 consecutive times, and everybody would say Sean McVay is a better coach. Everybody.
Yeah. Well, he's essentially halfway there. What's he beating him 5 straight times?
Exactly.
And everybody in his wake. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, he's taking him down. I mean, basically, Sirianni, I might have talked about this here. I said, this guy's Rocky Balboa. He should be the most popular sports figure in the whole city of Philadelphia. I mean, it's literally a Rocky script where they pick this guy out of a phone catalog and we're like, this is the coach, this guy right here, Rocky Balboa, the Italian stallion. And he wins the Super Bowl. He's been to the playoffs every year. He's gotten you to the Super Bowl twice. And you're like, this guy sucks. I mean, like, this is the kind of things that this football team has done to this city, where it's the quarterback isn't good enough, the coach isn't good enough, and they would rather somebody different after winning the Super Bowl, after a 4-year run where you haven't missed the playoffs. It is kind of wild. It's like the most Philadelphia sports story that Philadelphia could even come up with.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
where do they go then, Mike? They've lost 3 straight and they're 8-5. It feels like things are, we don't feel like the dominant team that we once felt. I think I don't want to speak for the whole city, but it feels like that's the feeling in the city. Where do they go from here? Are you still look at them as Super Bowl contender? Are they a one and done in your eyes? I mean, the NFC is pretty weak, dude. Not weak, but feels like there's always going to be an
the NFC is very I mean, anybody can beat anybody. I don't know if it's weak. It's just that everybody is like, I think there's a team, San Francisco. Nobody's talking about them at all. They haven't played a lot of national games. They're just kind of like lingering. They keep winning. They've been banged up. The quarterback's missed a lot of time. McCaffrey's not playing here and there. The receiving core's banged up, and yet they just keep winning. Bosa's been out. I mean, you look at not Bosa, the linebacker, Warner. He's been out. They've got all sorts of problems, and yet they keep winning. That's a team that no one's paying attention to. They're good. Seattle, no one really sees them. That team's really good. You just don't believe in them because of Darnold and his pass, but that team is really, really good. The Rams, how many times are you going to knock them off before they finally are like, all right, we got you? It's not a fait accompli that you play the Rams. You're just going to beat them because you always have.
Yeah, that's what Kerr was telling me. He's like, they're better because they beat them in September. I'm like, Jeff, the Rams are better than the Eagles right now. I don't give a shit what you say about the September game.
Well, and I think the Rams look at that game and say, we're better than them. We're better than they are.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And like, yes, they got that win over us in September, but the next time we get them when it counts more, we know we're better than them. And so I think the Rams, Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago's beating you. Green Bay, you had to obviously have a near perfect game to beat them. So while there's not a team that's head and shoulders, the depth of the conference has every one of those teams can beat you, but they have to play their best, right? They can't turn the ball over. So Philadelphia just has to really fine-tune what they have done well and hope that, hey, on that Sunday, we don't turn the ball over, because when we have turned the ball over, that's what cost us against Chicago. But when we take care of the ball, that's why we beat the Rams. That's why we beat Green Bay. So it's such a fine line for them, but that's a fine line for everybody. There's not a talent head and shoulders better than anybody. So what can they do is, look, they got to get Lane Johnson back, and if that happens, I think that helps out the offensive line. We know their record without him, and it might not seem like a lot because everybody loves the sacks. Fred Johnson's not giving up sacks, but he gives up pressure that Lane's not, and it forces Jalen to have to kind of move off of his spots and get out of there.
Thing too, dude. I don't think Jalen's as comfortable back there when Lane's not in.
No, of course he's not.
Even if there's no pressure, he feels pressure.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's like Fred, again, he's not giving up sacks, and everybody gets enamored with the sack number. But when you see Fred Johnson getting pushed back closer to your face, like, he's more apt to try to make quick decisions to get out of there. And we know as soon as he gets out of there, generally not a good result in the play. Can they get that run game, refined a little bit? It started the other. People look at the yardage that Barkley got and the big run and will say, oh, look, they got it going. They didn't really get it going. Their run game had like 3 big runs that he had. Other than that, he still did not have a whole heck of a lot of room to roam back there.
No. And by the way, Saquon had an awful game in pass protection. There's been like 4 or 5 games like that. He just gets.
He's not very good. He's not very good. He's not very good at pass
protection.
But
he's not that bad. I was looking at PFF gave him a 4.4 in pass protection. I've never seen that. For instance, his worst mark besides that was 27.4, which is also awful. But
did you guys see Hurts's rating was lower than if you spike the football every play of a game?
Yeah, his passer rating.
Yeah.
Well, that's the dumbest stat in the history of the world. But
why wouldn't you
when
get
it's
a
good
zero?
though, the fans will use it. When it's good, it's
well, I mean, but
that's
consistently.
That is like.
In what world is 158.3 perfect? Does that make sense to anybody?
Who comes up with these arbitrary? No, I said it's like when you travel overseas and they use Celsius degrees.
Yeah, it's like
19 is not supposed to be warm. That's a number that's low for, like, I know it sounds like you like so simplistic, but if you spike the ball every single time, your rating should be 0. You did not complete a pass.
Exactly.
You weren't close to completing a pass. You didn't come anywhere near completing a pass. And by the way, the conversation that will go on forever is, how come a spike clock is not an intentional grounding?
Yeah, well, there's a lot. I mean, hey, over legislation. You talk about over legislation. When you have a scale that yields a number from 0 to 158.3, like, who came up with that?
Yeah, who decided that?
And by the way, nobody knows how to calculate it. None of the fans know how to calculate it. And why would they? I'm not blaming.
It gets murky, too, because you have the QB rating, and then ESPN throws in its own QBR, and it's like,
well, yeah, they have a different one, which is better. If all the EPA, the QBR passer rating is the official NFL stat. That's what they're talking about with it's not quarterback rating, it's passer rating. So it doesn't take into account running the football. Nothing. It doesn't take into account playing the position. It's just if you have a good passer rating, what it means is you're effective passing the football. That's it. That's really it. It's a really bad stat. And actually the ESPN stats better, which is QBR. The EPA stats are better if you want to see how a quarterback is actually playing.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
The they have the Raiders this week, and this season everybody's throwing the 2023 comparisons. I think there's a lot of parallels to what's going on right now. Whereas you played Seattle on a Monday night out there, Hurts threw an interception to seal that loss. You played the Chargers on a Monday night, Hurts throws an interception to seal that loss. And then it was like, well, you have the Cardinals, you should take care of the Cardinals. And the Cardinals came to Philadelphia and scored 38 against you. And now you have the Raiders, who everybody thinks is.
Boy, I hope Kenny Pickett plays.
We'll see. Geno got banged up in the game, but I don't think I don't know. It was very ambiguous on how.
Wouldn't it be great if Kenny Pickett comes back and beats the Eagles?
That would be crazy. But
I'll tell you this: Pete Carroll's undefeated versus the Birds, and they run.
Who cares? That's the worst. Yeah, I take it back. That's the worst stat in the world.
Well, why do you tell me that Nick Sirianni beats McVay all the time? Who cares?
Well, if I told you if Nick Sirianni had a 2-11 team and was going in against Sean McVay this year, I wouldn't be harping on he's beat him every time. He's got a good team. Pete Carroll dominated the Eagles for years, as did Russell Wilson. That narrative. Would you have a problem playing Russell Wilson tonight? Probably not.
That's fair.
No, but that Russell Wilson back then was outstanding, and a lot of people are saying that hey, Jalen Hurts is a very Russell Wilson-esque type of player. Where
that was the comp for many years,
right? Exactly. But this Raider game, I look back at, they played that season the 49ers, and the 49ers kind of took their soul, ripped it out, and they played Dallas and were up 21-0. I don't think we put as much stock into what that loss kind of meant for them as, oh my God, we blew a 21-point lead here against a team that we were handling. And then the next week in 2023, they got blasted by Dallas the next week. Well, they got blasted by the Bears on their home field the very next week. And it was like 2 in a row. And then you went on the road just like that. You're on a Monday night, and that was when they fired Desai and all that stuff. And here's all this talk about the coordinator, and are you going to change the play caller? They didn't do it this time, but a very similar result where you throw an interception to seal that game. And then I think in 2023, they had the Giants on Christmas night. They won that game, but man, it was an ugly game. And then they had that Cardinal game. It was like, they got the Cardinals. They'll win that game. And everyone's like, it's the Raiders. If they lose this Raider game, man, you got big problems. Now, if they get back on track and beat the Raiders, it's going to be, it was only the Raiders. And then you got Washington.
As it should be, by the way.
Right. And then you got Washington twice and Buffalo in there. So it's going to make it feel like they really haven't proven anything to anybody because of the way the schedule is set up here. But that Buffalo game will be a very interesting moment in this season, depending on who needs what and where and all that stuff. Because if you have to go to Buffalo and win a game, they're going to need that game because they're probably going to be behind in the East. Maybe they close the gap on New England, that AFC wild card over there. So they're going to need that game, Buffalo, almost in every – because there was a time where you're like, that Buffalo game late in the year, both those teams might be so far because Buffalo in the AFC East, no one thought that New England was going to be
that was my guaranteed pick. I always have a guaranteed division winner, and my guarantee was Buffalo. And it's not looking good right now.
No, and that's what I'm saying. In the beginning of the year, when that schedule came out, you figured Buffalo would probably be playing for nothing because they would have that division pretty much locked up. And similar to you, now both these teams might be fighting for something in a game. And I said, if you were one of those travel groups and you had to try to sell, do you want to go to Buffalo December 27th, 2 days after Christmas? That would be a tough sell. You're lucky you get your payment in advance on those.
Yeah. Might be meaningful though, but there will be snow on the ground. Just a matter of
I hear there might be
there'll
snow on the ground
during the
Sunday.
game. Yeah,
This Sunday.
Devin White is also coming back. Legendary Eagles linebacker. Albert Okwegbanon is on the Raiders. Kenny Pickett.
Who knew he was still in the league?
Yeah, who knew? He's only on the practice squad, so I don't know. Terrell Edmonds, also former Eagles great, coming back with the Las Vegas Raiders. And obviously, they poached the Eagles front office this offseason. Anthony Patch and Brandon Hunt are over with the Raiders. So there you have it.
Raiders stink. All I'm saying is I'm not there. I don't know.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one guy who doesn't stink, and that's Brock Bowers.
No, he doesn't stink.
He's very good, and an area where the Eagles could be susceptible.
Yeah. All right, Mike. You think they win on? We think they win on Sunday, right?
Yeah, I mean the Raiders are really, really, really bad. They're banged up too, so that adds to their badness. If you lose this game, though, whoo, baby, it would be very.
I'm gonna say if they lose this game, they're not making the playoffs.
Well, and I know I talked to you yesterday, John. I think about Dallas making it more interesting, and everybody's like, well, I mean, Dallas's schedule sets up, and listen, they're so inconsistent. They lose that Lion game, but the rest of their schedule.
Boy, if they beat the Lions, it would be fun. It would have been fun, but they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. But the rest of their schedule is they should be the favorite in every single game. I would imagine.
Commanders, Giants, Chargers.
They play the Chargers and they play the Vikings this week. Then the Chargers next week. Both games are in Dallas.
Look out for JJ McCarthy, starting to get it. Look out!
The two NFC East games they play at the end of the year are on the road. But I would imagine they are favored in all 4 of their games. I would imagine Philly is favored in at least 3 of their last 4 games. Should be interesting. That tie is always just kind of looms. Just kind of looms.
Yeah. Could loom in a good way, could loom in a bad way. But these next 2 weeks are confidence builders. The Eagles got to gain some confidence by playing Las Vegas and Washington. We'll see if they can do it. If not, they might be in some trouble, boys.
Yeah.
At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike on the X platform, his YouTube page, subscribe there. 97.3 down the short, 97.5 up here.
I will be Saturday. I will be on 97.5 in Philly. I also have a couple midday shows coming up there. I don't have the dates yet, but I'll be
all right. Keep us
filling in a couple days. So this Saturday I'll be on from 10 to 1.
10 to 1.
Good stuff, Mike. All right, man. Appreciate you joining in as always, Mike. You're always generous with your time here, and we love having you on. Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, man.
See you.
There's Mike
Thanks,
Gill
bud.
joining us here on Birds 365. Great stuff from Mike Gill. As we continue to roll on, we got Brandon Lee Goutwin coming up next on Birds 365. A lot of good conversation to have. The Eagles are 8-5 right now. John, it's been a while though since the Eagles have been in like it felt like even the last few years, like when they lose, their record is already so good. It's like, you can't complain that much. They're like 11-4 or they're 10-3 or you know what I mean? Now it's like 8-5.
Still
a little closer. That's a little closer to 500 than we've been in the last few years.
Yeah. Well, it's been a heck of a run, and they don't lose 3 straight too often, so it's rare. But yeah, I mean, they're not playing well. It's fair to point that out. And I think you see some of the things you see with teams that aren't secure in their beliefs and selves. And they try, we got to do this, we got to do that. They start creeping, they start listening to outside voices, this, that, placating, whatever you want to call it. And they go off script. And it generally doesn't work out too well. And I think you're seeing that, or you saw it at least against the Chargers. So we'll see if there's adjustment or if they keep going down this path. And I should mention, I've mentioned, because we should keep everybody up to date on the roster moves. The Eagles waived Cal Adamitis, who is their long snapper.
Yeah.
Likely Charlie Hewlett is healthy, and that's why. But it should be noted, Jake Elliott's missed, I think, 6 kicks since the Vikings game.
Yeah.
And he had not missed one when Charlie was healthy. So there was one bad snap, but I think he made that field.
Time in Philly's coming to an end.
Yeah, he's been one of the, it's amazing. That's another perfect example of how quickly the league moves. You go back a couple years, he was a Pro Bowl kicker, one of the best kickers in the league. Over the last 2 years, he's really near the bottom of the league. And that's how quick it moves. And when you have a big time kicker like you had with the Chargers, Cameron Dicker, who ironically was here in 2022 as a rookie when Jake was injured, Brandon Aubrey, most notably, it's a big difference.
How much do you apply the speed of the NFL, like you're talking about in that instance, to Jalen?
Oh yeah, it's for everybody. Nobody's immune.
I know, but I feel like, and I don't want to speak for you, but I do feel like you've said, not much different there. This is kind of who he's always been. I
don't think there's been tons of different. I think the bigger decline is 26. I just talked about his pass protection.
26 as in next year?
No, 26 as in Saquon Barkley.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Not playing well.
You don't think Jalen looks just a little bit less?
Well, I do, but I thought like for the first 8-9 weeks, he was playing effective football in his style of football. Like I didn't see the great decline. He hasn't played well for 4 or 5 weeks now.
He's just always been such an athletically dominant player, especially at that position, that if you lose some of that, I think you do have to look at, all right, how does his game change as a player, and how does that change for the Eagles? And I think, at least in my eyes, just from the eye test, it looks like some of that is starting to happen. And he is, what is he, 28 or is he 27? I think he's 27 now.
Yeah, well, I think when you still see the burst occasionally, I think it's more of, for whatever reason, again, management of the position, also partly learning the position, being more comfortable to wait for the throw rather than just take off and run. I always think he's been an awkward slider, which I think impacts things for some weird reason.
I still maintain that the concussion last year spooked him, in my opinion, a little bit. It's first ever concussion.
Yeah, I never got that from him. I got that from Carson. I think that's I can't speak for you why you think it, but I think a lot of Eagles fans, go back to the concussion with Carson Wentz, and Carson was very honest about that. And he said,
I was at that game, that playoff game versus Seattle.
And he said he was scared. And even that, I mean, he played well in Indianapolis, so I can't say his decline could be directly related to that, but he certainly was spooked by it a little bit. Whereas Jalen was trying to get back in that game. He was trying to sneak back in that game. You remember he tried to grab his helmet and literally walk on the field. Mm-hmm. He tried to do it. So he was, by no means was he spooked. So I've never all I can say is I've never gotten that feeling from him at all.
Yeah, well, interesting spot, John. Let's go to some super chats here. We got BLG coming up next. Here's Pumper. What's up, Pump? Jalenites. OMG. Jalen smiled at AJ. We are so back. 2 days later, 5 turnover performance. Fellas, no shame for these fanboys. I did see him. I guess he was hanging out with AJ Brown on the Hard Knocks. I saw it. Here's Pumper. Again, what up, Pump? Hope you're doing well, buddy. All 22 shows NFL defenses do not respect Jalen Hurts. Stack the box and play shell coverage. He can run if he wants and throw intermediate routes knowing he doesn't.
Well, I don't know that because you play shell coverage. I mean, that's how they tried to stop Patrick Mahomes for years. That doesn't mean they don't respect you. Sometimes it's the exact opposite. But yeah, teams are obviously not fearful of certain things.
They're not fearful of the run right now either, and that's I think to me that's a bigger problem then, or excuse me, they're not fearful of the pass, which is where, the running lanes get clogged up.
Well,
It's a numbers game, John. If there's too many dudes in the box, it's like nobody's dropping back to try and protect the backfield.
They faced a lot of loaded boxes last year and did it just fine. I mean, if it were that easy, just +1, which is, basically the whole thought behind Vic Fangio's defensive scheme is get the +1 in coverage. Really, if you want to boil it down, obviously there's a lot of intricacies in that, but you always want the extra guy in coverage. Here, you probably don't fear that as much, to be fair. With the Eagles, you don't fear it as much.
One more super chat here. We got BLG coming up next. Here's Christopher Darker. Thanks for the $20 super chat, brother. I appreciate it. The anticipation pass over to Smitty at the end of the game told me he's capable. I just don't think their offense is built around timing plays. Christopher, I don't think you can use one throw.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a great throw. Don't get me wrong. It was a good
screenshot scouting is the worst, and then it is closely followed by one play scouting.
Yeah, right.
Like every quarterback in the NFL can make that throw. J.J. McCarthy, my favorite dumping child, can make that throw. Can he do it consistently? No. Hell no. It's Jalen. I'm not comparing Jalen Hurts to J.J. McCarthy, first of all. But can he make? Of course he can make that throw. He made that throw. Can he do it consistently on time? That's a big if. That's a big if. That was a great throw, though. So if you want to scout off one play, just keep throwing that because that was a hell of a rip. Just keep doing that.
No doubt. Christopher Dark, appreciate the super chat there, brother. Let's go to BLG. Brandon Lee Gouton joining us right here on Birds 365. You can follow him at Brandon Gouton. Go and read all his work at bleedinggreennation.com. BLJ, another week and another loss for the Eagles. That's 3 straight. How you doing this Wednesday morning, my friend?
Yeah, it's a loss I expected in terms of we went over the schedule last week. I said I think they're going to win 2 of their final 5 games, and I still feel that way.
Same here. That's probably the way it's going to work out. Now, I was wavering back and forth, and I am a little bit more disappointed because I think that the Chargers were so limited offensively because of what was going on with Justin Herbert, plus the offensive line issues. They couldn't do anything. So it's like, from my perspective, BLG, if the Eagles played like they normally do, they probably win that game by 2 scores. So where are you on the scale of, well, they opened it up, they're playing more 11 personnel. They know what crossing routes are. They know what dig routes are. He had that one rip over the middle we were just talking about when you were in the green room. Some good throws. The AJ should have been a touchdown in the end zone. Great play, though. That was also Cam Hart, by the way. 2 great plays by Cam Hart. I didn't realize he kind of ripped till I watched it again. He ripped AJ's arm, so that's more explainable. But that was a great throw from Jalen's perspective is the point I'm trying to make. Where are you on the scale of happiness with the involvement of the offense versus this is not who the Eagles are, and they turned it over 5 times?
Yeah, I don't believe it's as simple as like they can just, not turn it over, because I think that comes at a cost. And I mean, they're already so unproductive on offense. I mean, it's gotten to a point where it's so pathetic. I mean, it's over the last 5 weeks. Only the Raiders have scored fewer touchdowns than the Philadelphia Eagles have. Like, think about that.
Heavyweight matchup. Matchup on Sunday.
That's crazy. That's not underperforming. That's a disaster. Like, this isn't like, oh, they're kind of mediocre. No, they're horrible. This is a pathetic offense. I am in favor generally of opening up a little bit more and being more aggressive. And I don't think like the turnovers only happened because of that. I mean, case in point, the interception Jalen Hurts throws at a defensive lineman. That's not him being aggressive. That's obviously him just like not accounting for a defensive lineman dropping into coverage over the middle of the field and just making a really bad decision. So I don't think it's just like they're being reckless and that's the only problem.
What about the final interception from the perspective of that's an RPR, man? He's got 4 choices there. He hands the ball up to Saquon. He should have done. He's got 5 yards. Maybe he breaks a tackle. Maybe he goes in. We don't know, but it'll be a positive play because Khalil Mack flattened out. He's got Dallas Goedert in the flat. Usually RPOs because of the timing. The read's going to be low to high. I can't guarantee that, but usually because of the timing, it's going to be low to high. So you got Dallas Goedert in the flat for 5 yards, whatever, maybe more. He could run it himself if Khalil crashes down, but he didn't. And then you have the final option, which is the one he took with Khalil Mack right in his space, I might add.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible decision. Plenty of options. You put it in your quarterback's hands. What do you do there? Do you scale it back and say, all right, this guy can't make simple decisions? Do you say, there's more up? It's a bad play. So many people said it's a bad play call. You got 4 options. What do you want? Where are you on that particular play? Does he have too much autonomy? Can we argue that?
I mean, I think to a bigger point, you could on that play. I mean, part of it's just it's a great play by the Chargers too. Like they deserve credit for that play. I mean, it was really good defense by them. The part that bothers me, and I think the part that you can, have a gripe about is it's first down, right? Like the lack of situational awareness there. That's the tough one for me. If this is third down, obviously, different story maybe. But it's first down, and he makes the wrong read at the start. I mean, that's really disappointing, and kind of a bigger theme here over these past couple of weeks where Jalen's been struggling. It's like he's not seeing the field well. He's not making the right decisions. The stuff that's happening, above the shoulders, so to speak, it's just not where it needs to be.
BLJ, where's your macro opinion on Jalen? Is this just a tough stretch? Do you think bigger questions need to be asked about the position? I mean, Nick Sirianni literally got asked today on WIP.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with his response that it's not a valid question yet, but the fact that he's even being asked it on the flagship station of the Eagles, to me would say that the narrative is shifting a little bit. Where are you on the quarterback position and kind of the big picture look at it?
Yeah, I think that Jalen's obviously going through a tough stretch right now. I don't think he's going to have better games than he did, against the Chargers. Like he's not going to. I think he's going to be that player in every game the rest of the season. I'd be pretty surprised if that was the case. 5 turnovers. I'm not worried about him turning it over that extent. But again, I think it's a situation where the offense as a whole is struggling, and it's not really necessarily like fair in a perfect world that it's incumbent upon just one player to kind of pick things up and fix it for everyone. But quarterback is getting paid $250 million to in part do that and be the guy who can help try to fix things when things are going wrong, and lift everyone else up. You're not going to ask, Fred Johnson to do that, or really even like Dallas Goedert to do that. They're not going to be those kind of players. It's the quarterback who has to kind of take that pressure, and they're going to get the credit. Obviously, when it goes right, they're also going to get the blame when it goes wrong. On Tanner McKee, I mean, obviously, like it's just not going to happen from a standpoint of you make that move, then the Jalen Hurts era is effectively over. Now, I will say that it's hard not to be curious, right, about what it would look like. It's incredible, because maybe just again, I think I said this last week too, from like a science standpoint, that he's going to test the control.
I think it would.
Well, because there's such different styles of players.
Yeah,
that too.
I think it would give the coaching staff, the play calling, some juice. I think it would, but I agree with you. I don't even consider it at this point. I mean, I can't, but I can acknowledge that it would probably give some juice to the offense and the coaching staff. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think they feel limited because of the limitations of the quarterback. Is that fair or unfair?
I think there is a feeling. I think it's fair to say they feel that way, but I think, like great coaching, you make do with what you have. And I don't think they are making, there's no evidence that they are. You cannot say, I don't think anyone can say in good faith that the coaching staff is like absolutely maximizing Jalen Hurts right now. I don't think you can say that. I think I'm not going to say it's an easy job, because I think, yes, there are limitations here that is not making it super easy for them, but that's the job. It's not going to be super easy for them. And I don't think they're doing everything they can to help him. I think they're trying. Obviously, I'm not saying they're not trying, like in terms of they're efforting for sure, but I don't think they're effectively going about trying to help him.
How are the coaches doing, in your opinion, on the offensive side of the ball?
Again, I don't think you get to as bad as the Eagles are in offense without, multiple failures. This isn't about flipping one lever here. Like flipping one lever could get this offense probably from bad to maybe, mediocre, which would honestly be great considering how good the defense is. But like it's not like you just change one thing and it goes from, again, like literally one of the worst offenses in the league right now to the best. It's too drastic of a gap there for just one thing to change. But I think, again, if you get it to mediocre, if even just one of these things is better, if it's the coaching, if it's the quarterback, the fact that it's everything contributing to them being this bad, that's what's frustrating.
What about competence? And we talk about competence of the quarterback who's all of a sudden turning the football over, but competence of the coaching staff from the perspective of if you go back to I guess they were at the 2-yard line on the Mailata hold, which called back the AJ touchdown. In the past, they tush pushed that thing in there twice, and that'd be it. That'd be touchdown. All right, let's go the other direction. Let's kick off. And now they seem to have lost confidence even in that, and they even tweak it. It worked, obviously, with the Saquon 52-yard touchdown, but they've seemingly lost confidence in the one thing that everybody took pride in. And, we do this better than everybody else in the league. We're so good at it. The league's trying to ban it. And now one fumble and bang. What about confidence of everybody?
Yeah, in that specific situation, I hate going away from it there. I mean, we saw them do that against the New York Giants, right? Where they did it in the first game like 4 times or whatever it was to get into the end zone. Like, you got a lot of chances there. You could have just done that. I know you had the fumble last week, but I don't think that means you just give up on it entirely. Or, like they did the fake. Why don't you could do something, and like they did that in the Bucs game too, where they ran a couple plays kind of at like that weren't the touch push out of that formation. So they still could have lined up for it there and done something a little different. As a whole, though, I think, the point of, and this is why I think, it's tough to just blame one person from a standpoint of like the offensive environment as a whole is just so bad from an energy standpoint and a confidence standpoint. Like, I don't think Jalen's playing with confidence. I don't think anyone's playing with confidence. I don't think AJ Brown's playing with confidence. No, AJ Brown's one of the most confident human beings I know on the planet Earth. I don't think he's playing with confidence. And it's probably could be related, to those drops he had as well. The fact that he's not playing with that kind of confidence, because the whole offensive environment, what's the reason to feel inspired? What's the reason to feel confident? They're so beaten down, and I don't really think they believe in themselves as much as they've tried. And I think Saquon has really been good in that, in terms of like trying to change that energy around. You kind of like they were kind of like willing themselves into that after Saquon's touchdown. You saw the energy there on the sideline. But it's just not enough. And in the bad environment, it persists.
Yeah. BLJ, help me on this offensive line, man. I read all over social media. I get it in the comment section here on JAKIB Sports all day long. Offensive line's terrible. Offensive line's terrible. When I watch the game, I see different things. Like I see Jalen with a lot of time to throw, like a lot of plays, where he's holding on to that ball and he's making plays off schedule. Running game, they don't look great. What are you seeing in the offensive line this year, and how much are they contributing to the offensive struggles?
Yeah, I think you laid it out well there. I think they've been pretty good in pass protection overall. I think the running blocking has been a big issue, and I think that's kind of where you're seeing the toll of last season really, take effect there. I also think Eagles fans are spoiled when it comes to offensive lines, because usually, they have, if not the best, one of the very best in the NFL, and they're not that this year, but they're not like, look at that Chargers offensive line. Like, they're not that. Like, that offensive line didn't stand a chance on every play, basically. Like, Herbert's running for his life, has to like get on the move every single play. That's not the case with the Eagles offensive line. Are they underperforming relative to the standard? Yes. But, like, are they a terrible offensive line? They're not. No, absolutely not relative to the rest of the league.
Yeah, that's correct. There are some bad. You got to see one up close and personal. I've never seen a better pressure game than that. Just pure pressure I know Next Gen Stats had like 5 better ones. I'd like to see the film of those games because he was under siege, that guy, Justin Herbert. So it was and the Eagles didn't even have Jalen Carter. So impressive performance from that aspect, but you also have to add in the poor offensive line. Now, that said, Lane Johnson put out the eyeball emoji. This is week 4. They didn't put him on injured reserve. He's missed 3 games. The Eagles typically have lost 3 games, as they do when Lane doesn't play. Is it just as simple as getting Lane back? And maybe we'll see that today. They're only going to have a walkthrough, but if he's back at practice today, is it as simple as, all right, things are going to get better because Lane Johnson is here?
It's not as simple, obviously, as the offense is fixed because we were seeing these issues, when he was there. But I do think it helps a lot for sure. Absolutely. Especially in the run game specifically. And especially going up against this opponent. I think in a perfect world, Eagles could be able to rest him a little bit more, assuming that would actually help him. I don't know the full nature of his injury, and where he's at in terms of his recovery. But they are also facing Max Crosby, who is so it would be a nice way, to kind of counteract one of the Raiders' very, very best players. And what I would say is, one of the Raiders' best chances of being able to pull off a massive upset is, if Max Crosby absolutely just goes off in this game. I think it's actually very vital that they get Lane back if he's ready to play.
Bill G, you had him going 2-3 in the final 5. We're now down to the final 4. They're 0-1. That would be 2-2 in the final 4.
Mm-hmm.
That would set up an interesting conversation on the NFC East. I know it doesn't feel like Dallas will win out, but they got the Giants, the Commanders, they have the Chargers, and this weekend they have the Vikings. It's not impossible for them to win out. You think this team wins the East or what?
Not convincingly, no. But I do think the Eagles win 2, and that puts the Eagles' magic number from their standpoint to win the division at 1 at that point. So it comes down to, do the Cowboys lose 1 of their final 4 games?
If they lose 1, then they're good.
And I don't think it's possible if they win out. I agree. I think it's entirely possible the Cowboys win out. They get 2 of these at home over the next 2. But I do think they lose 1. I do think.
Dude, can you imagine if Cowboys won out and they snuck in? Oh my!
I think
What would be the ramifications of that? That to me feels like Jeffrey Lurie would.
A lot of scapegoats coming. Get ready for scapegoat season.
That would be a disaster, full stop. I mean, the Eagles were, I don't even know what they were at their height in terms of the odds, but even right now, they're still minus 1,000 or whatever. They have really convincing odds from a betting odds standpoint.
Yeah, I called the division like the AP. Like a political campaign. I called the NFC East for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, hey.
Yep. I mean, if they don't blow that Cowboys game, then all they need at this point is either 1 Eagles win or 1 Cowboys loss the rest of the way. That itself was just such a massive deal that they blew that.
Yeah, it certainly was. But I do think the Cowboys haven't been consistent. I mean, if they won that Lions game, we would really be talking. We would really have some interesting talking points, but they didn't. And part of the reason they didn't is that defense still stinks. I don't think they're consistent enough to win 4 consecutive games, even with a light schedule. But we'll see. I mean, the Eagles, I don't think they can prove much against the Las Vegas Raiders, but if they lay an egg, I think that says, all right, now you can legitimately talk about 2023 type collapse, because this is a bad football team, the Las Vegas Raiders. And who knows? Kenny Pickett might be the starting quarterback. Can they prove anything to you? I think this is a confidence game to me, Bill. That's it. They can't prove anything to me. Can they prove anything to you in this game?
They can prove they can win a football game. That's the most I could get out of it. And I mean, that's a big deal after they've never lost 4 in a row in the Nick Sirianni era. So, and they've only lost 3 in a row.
23 collapse, no 4 in a row.
They
lost 3 losses, 1 win, and then 3 losses.
Correct. Yep. So that split up there. And then they had 3 losses back in Nick's first season, and you went 1-3 or 1-4, 1-3, 1-3 to start that season. 3 losses in a row after the win in week 1. So I mean, yeah, they just need to win the game. It'd be great to see them play well. I don't really know, like to your point though, John, like what that means against this Raiders team is listless. Like they are just. Yeah. I think the Eagles are really bad right now, and as you can tell, I don't have a lot of confidence in them. But man, when I've watched the Raiders, like I just don't see what you're hanging your hat on with that.
Well, my
team.
only problem is like that. One, they play a lot of zone defense. I know they're not a good team, but our offense doesn't score points. Like we are not a good. Look at the last 5 games. The offensive outputs are brutal. They had 21 on Dallas and went 40 minutes. They had 19 last night. They had 10 versus the Packers, 16 versus the. They don't score.
Well, neither do the Raiders.
The Raiders can hold them and force a turnover with their zone defense. I don't know. Can they sneak a touchdown or two to make it close? I feel like
Michael Mayer. You never know. Not Michael Mayer. Brock Bowers. They have good tight ends. Brock Bowers is a hell of a player. And as BLG brought up Max Crosby, that's their 2 big time players. They also have a good kicker, or he has been in the past.
And punter,
But of course, when you're talking about that, but when I do want to bring up Jake Elliott because, boy, he's a perfect example of BLG of how quickly the NFL moves. A couple of years ago, he's an all-pro, second team, one of the best kickers in football. Now you look at him, he's over the past 2 years, he's been one of the worst kickers in the NFL. And the Eagles waved their long snapper yesterday. I don't know if it's not having Charlie Hewlett, but he's missed 6 kicks over the past number of weeks. All of a sudden, you have look at Cameron Dicker. He was here in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Aubrey. You got these big time kickers. Guess what? Jake Elliott isn't one of them anymore. That's how quickly time moves in the NFL. How concerned are you with Jake Elliott?
Yeah, going into the year, I was not at all. I thought he was going to bounce back from last season. That's what he's done in the past. He's had some bad seasons in the past. He's immediately bounced back in really in a strong way. But in this season, he was off to a good start. He didn't have any misses when I think the first
Charlie Hewlett was
exactly. So if you want to give him some benefit of the doubt, I guess you can say maybe that'll help him. I don't know that
scapegoats are starting early. Poor Cal at Dominitis.
That's
Adamitis.
Getting
first scapegoat season starting early. Yeah.
Not the Midas touch for Cal Adamitis, no.
No. BLG, you feel like this defense is I don't like this word, but I don't know another word to use. Do you feel like they're breaking because of the offense is just so basically inept week in and week out? I mean, they're a good defense. I think they've exceeded my expectations with all the changes that they've had. I know their rankings aren't great, but it feels to me like they're going to buckle because this offense just gives them nothing. I mean, think about if you're Vic Fangio and you're watching this offense, 3 and outs, no points. You're going to be like, man, you're making my life hard. Man, you're making my life hard. Do you think there's a chance they buckle here? How do you view the defense?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that against the Bears. I think that's a big reason why we saw that performance there. I mean, they've played so much football. Like Cooper DeJean and Zach Baldwin lead the Eagles in snaps this year, and they're tied for, I believe, the 3rd most snaps of any defenders played in the NFL this year. Just in the past 3 weeks alone, the Eagles have essentially played like 4 games worth of snaps. That's also what happened down the stretch in 2023, by the way. I'm not worried about the defense, getting to that level, but part of it is just like exhaustion from being out there on the field so much. And you can say like, oh, well, they have to get off the field too. And there's some truth to that more than not at all. But like, okay, even if they do, the offense just goes 3 and out again. So it's like, I don't think it's obviously as much on them as it is the offense just not being able to stay on the field. So it's absolutely a concern, that they're out there so much and have to carry so much of the workload that it feels like, maybe it won't be every week because, again, they bounce back from that Bears performance. Now, the extra rest, going into the Chargers game, obviously, and that could have helped. But, yeah, I do think that's a concern, especially by the time you get to the playoffs.
By the way, how good was Cooper DeJean against the Chargers? I thought that was going to be the funnest matchup of the day because Ladd McConkey's a really good route runner. And the few times Cooper struggled, it's with those great, sharp route runners. He didn't give him an inch. Every time they threw the football at Ladd McConkey, Cooper was all over him. What a football player he is. I can't say enough good things about Cooper DeJean, but I digress. Get back to the Raiders. When we talk about just how bad the Eagles' offense is, wait till you see this offense. 31st in the NFL, 32nd rushing offense, and they drafted a running back at the top of the draft. 26 throwing it. It might be Kenny Pickett. I mean, this is a disaster.
You're telling me it gets worse than the Eagles' offense?
Oh, yeah. I said, look at Tennessee, look at Cleveland, look at Minnesota. It actually gets worse.
Pretty sad.
You usually have a very young quarterback. That's not the case in Las Vegas with Geno Smith, but obviously Chip Kelly got fired. That would have been. We don't even get the Chip Kelly storyline. Everything about this team.
Well, the fact that the Eagles are the most expensive offense in the history of the NFL, which I get is because of the salary caps keep going up, and you're clumped in with those teams that you just named, John. Oof, man. Somebody's getting fired, and I can't even blame Jeffrey Lurie for that. I can't even blame him for
Well, definitely somebody's getting scapegoated.
Yeah.
But, and as we said, it already has started on the field. But although, that's being facetious because Charlie's probably healthy and is better, so he'll be back. But, it's somebody, if they don't figure it out, and they only got 4 games in the potential playoff run, if they don't figure it out, somebody's getting scapegoated. But my point is they got a good chance to figure it out. Now, again, I don't think it's going to be meaningful, but percentage wise, 0 to 100, give me upset either way you want to go. You got 95% Eagles, 100% Eagles, 5%.
Pete Carroll's 9-0 versus the Birds. BLG. John didn't want to hear that because his new team.
Right.
But he is 9-0 versus the Birds.
I'm gonna say 5% chance the Raiders.
5%. All right.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's lower than
you got to leave the door open ajar because they do have Brock Bowers. They do have everybody's got good players. They do have Max Crosby.
Yeah,
but I'm with you. That's what I put it at 95%. And
that's not confidence in the Eagles for me, other than the defense. Obviously, I have confidence in the defense, but I just think the Raiders are that bad.
Nothing to do with the Eagles. I'm with you 100% there. I'm with you 100% there. Not even 95.
And I really didn't like what I saw out of Kenny Pickett. And whenever I watched him practice, like in person, talking about watching him play in person. So if he has to play, and I've never been a big Geno Smith guy either, so I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't buy him either. This defense.
But Zander has informed me though. Pete Carroll has never lost.
That's right.
To the Philadelphia Eagles.
9-0.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, BLG, thanks for joining in, man. Real quick, just your final thoughts. Yep. 3 straight losses. Feels like the sky is falling in Philly for real now. Jalen Hurts probably in his worst stretch and maybe as an Eagles starter. Your final thoughts today on just where this team is going into week 15 of the NFL season.
I think you can look at it and say that, it's really hard to repeat. And there's truth to that. Absolutely. 100%. At the same time, I think you can look at this team and say they have not maximized what they could have done. This isn't a scenario where the whole roster just got decimated by injury and they just, it was out of their control. Like they couldn't repeat because, forces out of their control. That's obviously not the case. There's a lot within their control they're not doing great about. So everyone's right to be frustrated, even though, it could be maybe a little bit easy to take it for granted that the team just won the Super Bowl earlier this year and had one of the most dominant seasons ever. But it's frustrating for them to be underperforming to this degree. It feels like this is a team that, should at least get to the playoffs, win their division, win a playoff game. We don't know for sure, even if they're going to do that. And the standpoint of, we don't even know if they're definitely going to make the playoffs. Probably are, but not 100%. And that's kind of pathetic to be saying at this point when it just looked like they're going to cruise to that division title.
Yeah, no doubt. BLG, good stuff, man. We appreciate you giving us some time every week. As always, good talking to you here. We'll talk to you again next week. Let's see what happens on Sunday. Thank you, BLG.
Make sure you follow Brandon at Brandon Gouton, bleedinggreennation.com. Make sure you check that out every morning, and you will learn that the Eagles have waived their long snapper. I see that as front and center at bleedinggreennation.com.
Yeah, BLG does a great job over there on Bleeding Green Nation. John, I'm looking at, all right, I know Pete might be 9-0 versus the Birds. I don't think so. The Raiders have lost 7 straight games. Ready? I'm going to rattle them off to you. They lost to the Chiefs 31-0. They lost to the Jaguars. This is actually a good game by the Raiders, 30-29. They lost to the Broncos 10-7. Might be the score this weekend. They lost to the Cowboys 33-16. They lost to the Browns 24-10. They lost to the Chargers 31-14. And last week they lost 24-17 to the Broncos. This is a bad football team, John.
Ironically, their first game in the Pete Carroll era, they beat the New England Patriots.
Yep, 20-13.
And who has the best record in football? What a weird league. What a weird league.
It is absolutely a weird league. But losing to 7 straight are the Raiders. They have 2 wins on the year. Their other win was over the lowly Titans. So you take that week 1 game out, all right, which is week 1. It's basically like a preseason type.
On the road, too. On the road. Now, we didn't know how good the Patriots were going to be, obviously. And we didn't know how bad the Raiders were going to be. But, I mean, boy, I look at that Cleveland game. They lose by 2 touchdowns to the Cleveland Browns. How is that even possible?
I know.
Yeah, they're a bad football team. But, you know, if you want it, they took Jacksonville to overtime. They played the Broncos tough twice. You know, I say all the time, everybody's got good players. Everybody, and they have good players, led by Brock Bowers and Max Crosby, but not enough good players.
Yeah, I don't see it. John, will you go to the I know you always say the Eagles fans live in highs and lows, which they do. Will you join the lows if they lose to the Raiders?
Oh yeah. If they lose to the Raiders, it would be a catastrophe. Now, I won't get as low as I'm not gonna. My whole existence.
With the loss to the
my
Raiders.
whole existence isn't going to stop. But it would be a terrible. It would be a terrible loss, no doubt about it. There's no sugarcoating that one.
Games in Philly, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine. It would be fun if they lost. I'm not going to lie, but I can't even imagine them losing.
You get your 1:00 game too, so it's a 1:00 game in there. The spread right now is 11.5. So the Eagles are going to win this football game. At least they should win this football game. John, good stuff, man. Great show today. The Birds are in a weird spot right now, John. They really are. They're in a weird spot. It's tough to kind of make sense of this team, but the offense is just way underperforming. Defense feels like they're having a good year. You know, feels like they're having a good year. They're not ranked very high. I don't believe they are, but feels like they're having a solid year, and they're certainly not the problem with this team. But the Eagles are in an interesting spot right now, John.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting. I think the most interesting spot is so many people that I've seen that think that it was a positive what they did in the Chargers game from an offensive standpoint, from a play calling standpoint, from a scheming standpoint. So many people look at it as a positive. I find that interesting. And therefore,
do you view it as stuff that they can build on, maybe, clean it up, or do you just view it as that's just a bad style for this Eagles team?
I view it as this is a bad style for this quarterback. And I view it as validation of what they had been doing. It's going to be interesting to see how they view it.
Yeah, right.
Because I think way too many people are focused on being right, and all the people, and I'm one of them, that says, small margin of error, you got to do these things to get where you want to be and be consistent and do all these things and be long-term consistent from year to year. I agree with all that philosophically, but for this team, it's not about what I want. It's about what they do best. And I don't think this is what they do best. and I don't think that's changing. I would advocate for this team that figure out why you can't run the football, which is what they spent most of the season doing until all of a sudden, as the reports and that have since been confirmed everywhere, including myself, that Nick was more involved, and he was more involved trying to get them to do some of these different things, and it blew up in their faces. Did anybody not see it blew up in their faces? Like you can clean up a drop pass. You can clean up a wide receiver slipping. You could even clean up a poor decision if you're Jalen Hurts and say, all right, he flattened out, I should have handed the football off. You can say the same thing about, the penalties when they were struggling in their normal identity, and the negative plays and the missed blocks and all that stuff. But the difference is, all right, if you get a negative play because a banged up Cam Jurgens missed a block and you're 3rd and 12 instead of 3rd and 3, and you're 3 and out and you're kicking the football. Yeah, that's terrible, and it's boring and it's egregious, but you're punting the football. If you get an execution error throwing the football in the middle of the field, you get what you did. You got what you got against the LA Chargers, which is a catastrophe. The football going the other way. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, right. A couple super chats, John, to end the show here. Brandon Snyder, what's up, brother? Appreciate the big super chat, man. Thank you, bro. $20 super chat. He says, big picture, what I'm taking from the last 3 weeks more than anything else is the Eagles will absolutely move on from A.J. Brown in the offseason. Getting more balls thrown his way, and it's not resulting in W's. Where is Devontae?
Well, he's big on he slipped, causing an interception, but he was big on the 3rd and 16 play.
It also does feel to me, Brandon, like the only time they score in the last 3 weeks is when they throw the ball to A.J. Brown too. So it's kind of a catch-22. I mean,
yeah, but I was talking about Devontae. Devontae slipped, and he was the recipient of the 3rd and 16. So he's been out there, but yeah, I mean, look, they're throwing it more. AJ's getting numbers and they're not winning games. It's not AJ's fault. I'm not trying to say that. I'm trying to say they're going outside their identity of what made them successful. Why? I don't know. It's a good question. But yeah, I've said it a while ago. Right now, I crossed that 50-50 mark many weeks ago, that it's more likely, barring a complete turnaround and going back to the Super Bowl or something like that, or even the NFC Championship game. I think it's now over 50-50 that they will move on from AJ in the offseason.
Brandon, appreciate it, brother. Here's Pumper. We have not bashed Jalen Hurts enough this week. Also, where the F is Trey Lucado and Marquise Dunn? Please report the JAKIB.
Are they the Jalenites? I don't know.
Jalenites in the chat.
Oh, yeah, I bet they've been very quiet. I will agree with Pumper there. I'm kind of amused that everyone is just finding out there's problems with this passing offense.
Yeah. Well, I do agree is, some people, the Jalenites think Jalen is, the best quarterback in the world. That's obviously not true. And then the Pumpers of the world think he's like, a complete trash. And that's not true either. I think he's somewhere in the middle. But he does have I think the deficiencies are just harder to overcome than what some other deficiencies are. For if you take all the middle of the pack quarterbacks, everybody's got different strengths and weaknesses. Jalen's weaknesses to me are hard to overcome as a team because of the position he plays. Is that fair to say?
No, well, not compared to other quarterbacks. No, I think it's fair to say the opposite because they've won more than anybody else, basically. Except
they do have a good roster, John. I mean, come on, you know that. That's not all on Jalen. I mean, he deserves credit, but
no, but they've proven. But it's also not like it's the same thing with Nick. I mean, it's hilarious to me how people toggle back. Well, they have the talent, and then when they want to give the guy credit, which is not all. Nick actually has it worse than Jalen because they want to give the Jalenites want to give Jalen credit. Then it's all about the quarterback. Nick rarely gets credit. But they're both in the same lot. So people want to bring up the talent when they want to bring up the talent. But again, as I point out with Jake Elliott, Saquon Barkley, some others, it's a fast-moving industry.
Yeah,
and some people need to catch up with the talent because it ain't as good as people think it is.
Fair enough. Johnny Mac, good show today, man. Eagles are in an interesting spot. What's on the agenda for the Birds today?
Nick is talking today at 12:20-ish. They have a walkthrough, so no on-field media access. 4:35. The locker room does not open until 5:45. So you're going to have to wait a while to hear from the players and Jalen Hurts. It's Wednesday on a Sunday game. That means a long day at the NovaCare complex.
Long day. Johnny Mac, good stuff, brother. Your final thoughts here on a Wednesday edition of Birds 365.
Get right, week. Get right. Raiders are coming. Get some confidence. This is a confidence-building week. Get some confidence.
Will they actually get the confidence?
Yeah, probably not.
Agreed. John, good show, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow, brother.
All right, see you.
All right, thanks, dude. There's Johnny Mac. John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. Appreciate John today. Appreciate Mike Gill and Brandon Lee Gouton as well. Two great guests as always. Eagles in an interesting spot right now, everybody. I get the sense not many know what to make of this team, all right? And the people who do know what to make of the team are unfazed by being harsh in their criticisms of certain people, and some people are walking on eggshells, and that's fair. That's fine. I get it. I understand where the eggshells come from. I mean, this is a team that dominated their way to a Super Bowl this calendar year. Literally this calendar year, I was on a parade float on Broad Street. This year, not like this calendar year. And now it feels like this team is like I'll be surprised if they win versus the Raiders on Sunday. No, I won't be. I think they should win versus the Raiders. The Raiders are really bad, folks. The Raiders are like as bad gets. They are like the epitome of bad, man. Life comes at you fast. See, I know, Flex. I know. All right. I know for sure, man. I know for sure. So interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. Where is everybody on the team? Where is everybody on the team? I mean, I'm sure the Eagles fans are somewhere between we're fine and we're about to lose out and we're going to be bouncing the playoffs and one and done, or we won't make the playoffs, or what? Where's everybody? All right. How about the 50-50 AJ being here next year? I think 50-50 is probably about right on that. Team is mid. That's why everyone's pissed. I wouldn't be as mad if we played well and lost, but look bad. Yeah, I feel you. We'll go 3-1, but that doesn't prove anything. Barb, I'm not sure 3-1 is happening. Xander, we losing this week. Cardinals game 2.0. I hate to tell everybody in the chat, but Pumper's while the Eagles are on a 3-game losing streak, Pumper is on a 3-game winning streak right now, okay? Pumper is getting hot at the wrong time, all right? J-Mac said it. I'm taking it seriously. Which part? Which part, Keese? Oh, yeah, with AJ. Yeah, I agree. One and done. Hurts is getting exposed. Wow, Devin, I don't want to speak for you, but were you a Jalen? You weren't a Jalen. You were never a Jalenite, were you? I don't know. I forget. Everybody was a Jalenite last year. We won the Super Bowl. How do you not be a Jalenite when you win the Super Bowl? You know? I want to read something to you, by the way. Incoming, speaking of Jalenites, incoming Jalenites getting very mad, but that's all right. By the way, I found out my dad's a Jalenite. My dad is a Jalenite. My own dad is a Jalenite. I was talking to him yesterday about the team. He's like, by the way, I do not agree with the consensus that all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback. I'm like, oh my, Krause's a Jalenite. Krause is a Jalenite. All right. My father is a Jalenite. Oh, it was funny, man. It was funny. I was talking to my boy last night, too, from Alabama. I went to school with him in Alabama. He grew up here in Philly. He's like born on 2nd Street, lives down on 2nd Street. Mummers guy in the Mummers every year. I love the guy, man. He's one of the best. He's one of the absolute best. I went to high school with him, went to college with him, everything. He played football. He was a center at St. Joe's Prep when we won the state championship. One of my good friends. I was talking to him last night about the team. And to put it mildly, anybody who was in Alabama, who went to Alabama at the time when Jalen was there, okay, I know a lot of you don't like to hear this, but we weren't that thrilled about Jalen Hurts becoming our starting quarterback, to put it mildly. All right, we knew what he was good at, but we also knew what he was bad at. Now, my boy Eddie, that's all I'll tell you. Eddie, he was not a fan when the Eagles made Jalen the starting quarterback, but he's come around and he's like, "Look, we're winning a lot with him. He needs a lot around him, but I'm good with it." But I'm talking to him yesterday, and he's given me, he gave me some great optimism, some great optimism about the team, not so much Jalen Hurts, but about the team. So let me read you. So we're talking about the QB, and he's like, yeah, we all know what Jalen's deficiencies are. They've been the same deficiencies his whole career. So he goes, I'm not worried about that just yet. Speaking of Jalen, the quarterback. Honestly, only because of last year, though. I think the O-line struggles are in Hurts' head. He's not comfortable. Something is off, and he's trying to do too much through the air. I think a kick in the balls this season motivates them all for next year like 2023 did leading up to last year. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just too hopeful and trying to look at the good side of things. I truly think it's just being banged up from last year, injuries that never healed for our guys up front after a long, grueling season, and it came to haunt us this year. And he said this is hilarious. I also need Landon Dickerson's wife to let him relax for 2 effing weeks and not be doing carpentry around the house. Oh, man, that's pretty funny. All right, that's pretty funny. So there's my boy Eddie. All right. But, yeah, my dad's a Jalenite. How about that? Zander, I watched a lot of – what'd you say, Barb? I missed that. Yeah, Krause's a Jalenite, if you guys can believe it. I'll tell him. I don't know if he's listening to the show right now. I don't think he is, but he's busy right now. Zander, I watched a lot of Alabama games when Saban was coaching. I watched every Alabama game when Saban was coaching. Z, what's the word on Krause's coaches? Your vitality, killing it. This Saturday, Krause has – I can't go, unfortunately, but if you guys remember, we had our veterans event last year where we go down into the city. We have a veteran shelter that we go to. So we have 2 shelters coming out this year. So huge giveaway there. We had the event at City Hall about a week and a half ago for Krause's coach. It's killing it, dude. Krause's coach is having a big year. For anybody who doesn't know what Krause's coach is, that's my dad's nonprofit. He started a while ago that our whole family has been a part of. But we collect slightly worn or new jackets and give them to the less fortunate, give them to the homeless, give them to people in need down in the city. And it's been 20 plus years, a lot of coach. And I think he's on pace right now, vitality, for a record year in coats. So pretty impressive, pretty awesome stuff there. So thanks for asking, man. Thanks for asking. Here's Pumper. What's up, Pump? Thanks for the super chat, bro. Zay, are we sure the Mafia haven't infiltrated him? I'm a big Jordan guy, but I know he had Mafia debt. We sure Buddy not throwing games, 2 turnovers in 1 play? Pump, I'm not sure of anything, dude. All right? I'm not sure of anything. I am not sure of anything, okay, at this point. I'm not sure of shit. Gary says, my dad texted me the other day, said he hopes Jalen gets hurt because hoping he dies is too hard. Oh, come on, Gary. Your dad's the opposite of a Jalenite. That's really harsh. Krause is a Jalenite. It does appear. You guys will have to ask him on the Green Zone to get a definitive answer on whether he's a Jalenite. All right. But I know he said to me yesterday, Patullo blows and the quarterback's not as bad as everybody says he is. All right. So that to me sounds like a Jalenite. That to me sounds like a Jalenite. I said, Krause, I can't agree with you, my friend, but that's all right. All right, I'm going to read something to you guys. Theo, are you here, Theo? Is my boy Theo in here? RCR says, listen to Pops. RCR, I make my own opinions, brother. I listen to everybody. I like everybody. I like to hear the Jalenites. I like to hear the non-Jalenites. I like to hear the McMullens who ride in the middle. I like to hear the Cilios. I make my own opinions. You know, a lot of my perspective on Jalen, unfortunately. Theo, give me 1 sec. I got you. All right, bro. A lot of my opinions are unfortunately PTSD from Alabama with Jalen. Like, when I tell you guys, it was so eerily, like, I don't think, unless you were an Alabama fan in 2017 and 18, I don't think you understand how similar it is. There's probably, I don't know, there might not even be an Alabama fan in here that was a fan of the team then. Philly Tide, are you in here? I don't know. Alabama fan, anybody in here? They had a stacked roster. They had tremendous talent at wide receiver. They had a loaded defense. And they ran the ball well. Jalen struggles to move the ball through the air. And it cripples the team. Like, I'm sorry. I cannot get it out of my head. I can't get it out of my head. It's the same fucking thing. We got great receivers. We got a great defense. We got a good running. Now, the running game's not working right now. There's reasons for that. I think they're different than just the offensive line's no good, but whatever. It's eerily similar, man. I'm telling you, it's got me all messed up. Smitty, they had everybody. Are you kidding me? They had everybody that year. They had so many good receivers. They didn't know what to do with them all, Daz. Smitty, Waddle, Judy, Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley was still there at the time. They had so many receivers on those Alabama teams. All right, Theo. You ready for this, Theo? Let's go back and read. Let's go into the time machine and read. On your screen right now is the NFL.com, okay? This is NFL.com. Here we have Jalen Hurts' prospect breakdown pre-draft. So the NFL does this with every prospect coming into the NFL draft. They give them a grade, then they give the results. Here's the measurables, all that bullshit. Production, athleticism, total, all these things. 40, don't care about any of this. All right. Player bio, you can see how successful Jalen Hurts has been in his career, all SEC Freshman of the Year, Maxwell Award finalist, wins games at an insanely high clip, 38-4 record in college. Then you get down to the Lance Zierlein analysis. I think Lance does a pretty good job. All right. I think Lance does a pretty good job. All right. I know people go back and forth on who they like at the draft. I think Lance has always done a pretty good job. The buddy's resume is unreal, no doubt about it. All right, but if you go here and you look, production was round 2 or 3. That's about what it was. Round 2, I think he was picked 21 of round 2. NFL comp, Theo, this is why I called you. I know you always call him Tebow Hurts. The NFL comp from Lance Zierlein was Tim Tebow. All right. Theo, I know you were always calling him Jalen Tebow. There you go. Tim Tebow's your comp. Let's go through the strengths and the weaknesses. Let's read the overview first. Let's read together. Everybody, is everybody reading enough? All right. Reading keeps you smart. Is all of my great people of JAKIB Nation reading enough? Let's do some reading together. Overview. Like Tim Tebow, Hurts is a winning dual threat quarterback known for his strength, toughness, and character. Hurts is a more accurate passer and a better runner than Tebow, but is inconsistent as a decision maker and tends to break the pocket when throws are there to be made. His deep ball touch and intermediate accuracy improved this year, so teams may see him as a developmental talent who will keep getting better in the right scheme. He'll struggle to beat NFL defenses from the pocket, but his ability to grind out yards on the ground and make off-schedule plays should make him a solid backup with upward mobility. All right, decent overview. It's about what I see with Jalen. Let's go to the strengths. Strengths. Finished with a 38-4 record as a starter. Tremendous amount of wins, right? Similar to here in Eagles. A lot of winning. Tremendous leadership qualities. Extremely tough and durable. Shows poised to make plays late in games. Boy, have we seen that, right? I mean, tons of great plays late in games by Jalen Hurts. Has experience in a variety of schemes. Again, still true today. Able to step and drive with adequate velocity. Don't think arm strength has ever been a big problem. Uses athletic ability and strength to elude pocket pressure. Agreed, still to this day. Play extender who can make big plays on the move. Certainly true. Good accuracy on intermediate passes. I would agree with that. Capable as a rollout passer. Talented, powerful runner from direct snap and RPO. Leg drive to move piles and fall forward behind his pads. That's the strengths of Jalen Hurts. All right, that's the strengths of Jalen Hurts. I think all of that is still a strength today. Good leader, tough, durable, poise, late games, variety of schemes, good velocity, great athletic ability to get out of the pocket. All true, in my opinion. All true still today. Let's go to the weaknesses. Weaknesses from Lance Erline say this. Has issues sustaining rhythm as a passer with so many off-schedule throws. Sounds still true. Inconsistent patience allowing routes to develop. Slow recognition of early throw opportunities. Kind of heard Troy Aikman talking about that the other night on the broadcast. Leaves slants and crossers behind targets. Misses checkdowns and opts for harder throws. See that a lot with Troy Aikman's comments the other night as well. Deep arm dip into elongated release. I actually think he's improved that tremendously, the arm dip. Forced speedsters at Oklahoma and Alabama to slow down for deep throws. Needs to get better at trusting his pocket. Quick to drop. Oh, what happened? Sorry, I don't know what happened. Quick to drop his eyes when pressure mounts. More likely to void the pocket than climb, scan, and throw from it. So that right there was the Jalen Hurts scouting report coming out of college. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because I think it's fair to look at who a player is and who a player's become. I think he's improved at a lot of things. But when you look at the overarching themes of the weaknesses, I think anybody that watches the Eagles with an open mind or with a sense of honesty does see a lot of these weaknesses still today. And when you have as many talented players on this offense, I don't think it's unfair to expect more. I don't think it's unfair to look at some of these and say, what is going on here? Is Jalen making the most of the talent around him? Whoever wrote this scouting, or Crowley, this is why pre-draft, you read these things, Crowley, they're very important. A lot of times people try and say, don't read in too much of it. A player can overcome. Yes, a player can overcome. Absolutely. All right. Absolutely. But for the most part, Crowley, I would say 70% plus of scouts or of prospects, they kind of are who they are. They kind of are who they are. Now, you're going to improve incrementally in areas. You might change your style a little bit in areas, but the macro perspective on a player, for most part, does seem to bear out. And I think you see that right here with Jalen Hurts. The strengths are all his strengths. The weaknesses are all his weaknesses. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say to all of you guys that Jalen Hurts is a shitty quarterback. He's not a shitty quarterback. He's not a shitty quarterback, right? He's not. He struggles with things that are crippling this offense as it stands right now. That's my opinion. All right. I'm certainly not a Jalenite, but I'm also not a Brian Pumper on him. I think you can win with him. I think you need a lot around him to be good. And when things aren't perfect around him, we do seem the weaknesses seem to get exposed a little bit more, and that's where I think I stand on Jalen Hurts. But I went and looked at that because I don't know who brought it up to me. Somebody said to me, go and read it. And I'm like, all right, I'll go and really read it. Might have been Celia yesterday, but so I read that. I read a couple others, but I thought Lance's was the best. And I think that's just kind of the truth of where he is, on Jalen Hurts. And look, that's fine. That in a way, that's fine. It's just tough because you got to keep everything around him really good, and it's hard to keep an offensive line great every year. It's hard to have a great running game every year. It's hard to overcome some of that year in and year out. That's all, and that makes it challenging. When you have Jalen as a quarterback, he gives you a lot of good, man. He does, and we shouldn't, as a fan base, discount that. We shouldn't. It's not fair. I know some people don't like Jalen Hurts. I get it. All right, I hear you all. I see all your comments. I read them. I get it. That you shouldn't discount what he's brought to the team, but we also shouldn't turn a blind eye for the Jalenites as to what he struggles with, and where his deficiencies are as a player, because every player's got deficiencies, So. Sispot, do Tanner. You guys really want me to do Tanner McKee's scouting report? Really? Philly Tide, there you are. I was looking for you, bro. I didn't see your comment. I don't know if you saw my comment earlier, but I agree, Z. It's very similar to the situation at Bam. Yeah, it is, dude. It's real similar. And Philly Tide, I don't know about you, but that makes me a little queasy. That makes me a little queasy. Hell yeah, we do. All right, let me pull up Tanner McKee's. If you really want me to read you Tanner McKee's. No, I'm not advocating for Tanner McKee. So for all of you noodles, no, I'm just reading it because people want it. All right, let's bring it up. Here's Tanner McKee. All right, 6'6". Whew. All right, so Lance Zierlein again. Projected round 6 and 7. So again, he was accurate. All right. I'll read it all. Overview. Long, tall pocket passer with better arm strength and arm talent as a passer. McKee throws with an unorthodox delivery that becomes even more irregular when he feels rushed. He can make all the NFL throws and delivers a tight spiral with good velocity on intermediate and deep throws to the field. However, his heavy feet and lack of agility limit his effectiveness outside the pocket and make him a magnet for pass rushers when protection becomes spotty. McKee clearly improved his throwing process in 22, but he might lack the decision-making and functional mobility to make it in today's NFL. Strengths, excellent size. Release looked tighter and quicker in 22. Ball comes out easily and with a tight spiral. Has access to drive velocity when he throws in rhythm. Adequate anticipation into intermediate throws and no trouble making longer field side throws. Weaknesses. Touchdown to interception ratio of 3-3 over his final 7 games. Clunky feet in play action and on rollouts. I think you see that with him. He's very clunky. Struggles with consistent ball placement on all 3 levels. Process becomes too rushed with pressure mounting. Aims his short throws at times. Missing athleticism to successfully work off schedule. Poor mobility can put him in distress. So I don't really, I don't think that's a great. So I don't know, whatever. I didn't really want to read Tanner McKee's. I wanted to read the starting quarterbacks, but there you go. I read it for you guys. Curtis says, I never hear anyone give me a convincing explanation of what Jalen is better at than other quarterbacks. Well, come on, Curtis. I know you're not a huge Jalen guy, but are you going to act like Jalen Hurts hasn't had a good ability to make plays when plays break down? I mean, Kurt, I know everybody likes the quarterback that plays on schedule, but here's a reality in the NFL. Watch the other games. And I know you do, Kurt, so I'm not saying you don't. Plays break down a lot. All right? It happens a lot. Jalen's really good at turning them into something. That's an advantage for him. Doesn't mean you want to live in that mode, but it is an advantage when it does happen. All right. He does have great athleticism. He does have great late game ability. He does have a great clutch factor. He does play well when lights are bright and when you got to have it. I mean, even in the overtime, I know he made the bad throw, but did you see a couple of the throws he made in the clutch moments earlier? I mean, that Devontae Smith throw on third down was a fucking thing of beauty. I know it was his first read, but that was a really good throw. That was an anticipatory throw. That throw to A.J. Brown in the end zone, I don't think if you were in a laboratory, you could, I guess that's not the right word, but I don't think you could throw the ball better than that throw. Now, that's not to say that it's all fine and dandy, but, you're acting like Jalen doesn't do anything good. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I'm sorry. I really don't. I don't think that's fair. But I hear you. 3 good throws, 16 terrible. Well, I think you are getting a little bit of a sample size here where Jalen is struggling more than other years, or more than other moments. And I think it's fair to talk about that. We're now in a 5-game run here, a 3-game run where it's been really bad, 5-game run where it hasn't been great, of Jalen struggling. And I don't know if he's regressed as a player at this point. I hope not. But I think it would be fair to say the athleticism has potentially peaked and is maybe on the other side of the peak. And that could be a problem. Let's go to some super chats. Pumper, what's up, dude? Pump, I appreciate you. I think before Hurts was washed and can't run, yes, he might have been a better option to run the offense, but he's a statue now and he can't throw. He's not a statue, but I think it's fair to say maybe the athleticism is on the other side. Here's Pumper again. It's strange. The Jalenites have no ammo to defend their Messiah, but they hold firm. Brian Pumper thinks they gay for Hurts. Too handsome to hate. One thing I love about Pumper is the dude is funny. I will say, I don't ever remember an Eagle fan base being this disillusioned about someone. The other thing I'll remind all Eagles fans, if you're listening to an Eagles fan right now, all right, and you love Hurts, that's cool, good. I have no problem with you loving Hurts. We have a Super Bowl with him. We've been to 2 with him. I have no problem if you love him. I really don't like him. Cool, it's fine by me. I think you should see what his weaknesses are, but whatever. What was I about to say? I lost my damn train of thought now. It hurts. Oh, I don't recall a time when fans have been this, in a stasis about a player. And the other thing is this. Go and look up the 20. Let me show you something. All right, while I'm sharing my screen on stuff. All right, let's just go in increments, right? 5 years, 10 years, 5 years, 10 years. All right, fine. Let's go in 5-year increment. 5 years ago was what? 2020? Let me show you something. For all you people who are, if you're an overwhelming fan of any player, all right, I want to remind you to not go down that road. All right. Let's look at the roster in 2020. Oh, no, that's not 2020. Oh, where'd that go? Here's the Eagles roster in 2020. All right. And I want to remind you how the NFL moves quick, as John always says. And it's probably not good to fall in love with any player, no matter how much you like them. This is the roster in 2020. 5 years ago. This is not 20 years ago. This is not 10 years ago. 5 years. 5. Carson Wentz, gone. Miles Sanders, gone. Travis Fulgham, gone. Jalen Reagor, gone. Zach Ertz, gone. Dallas Goedert, still here. Jordan Mailata, still here. Isaac Seumalo, gone. Jason Kelsey, gone. Nate Herbig, gone. Lane Johnson, still here. Okay? So you have 3 players still here on offense. Let's go to the defense. Derek Barnett, gone. Javon Hargrave, gone. Fletcher Cox, gone. Brandon Graham, returned. Alex Singleton, gone. TJ Edwards, gone. Duke Riley, gone. Avante Maddox, gone. Darius Slay, gone. Rodney McLeod, gone. Jalen Mills, gone. I'm just saying. Don't fall in love with any player, guys. All right, you're Eagles fans. Remember that. Remember that. You're Eagles fans. I know it. That's Daz. That's my point. That's my entire point, is that people fall in love with players and act like they're never going anywhere. All right, this is 5 years ago. This is 5 years ago, brother. 5, not 10, not 8, 5 years. 5 years. That's not that long of a time. That's every team. So don't fall in love with players. All right? Don't fall in love with players. All right? Not worth it. Not worth falling in love with any player. Here's Pump. Xander, the QB is making business decisions. I kind of agree with that. The MFer just falls down in the sight of defenders. Before 23, he was trucking dude. No legs, he's ass. I agree with that. I mean, you go watch the way he ran in 22 versus yesterday. There was a first or second down run yesterday, or Monday, where Hurts made a play because it broke down quick, and Derwin James blitzed. Derwin James was right in his face. Hurts scoots around Derwin James, and he's got area to run. All right? There was a little hole where in 22, he was getting at least 8 to 10 yards on this run. Defense looked at him, boom, he immediately falls down. He gained 2 yards. Like, he runs the ball differently than he ran the ball before. Completely differently. And that's not even talking about whether the athleticism, the speed, the strength has declined, because I don't think it has. He really goes down quick. Here's Caleb. What's up, Caleb? I was there live. I have a lot to say. I was looking for you in the post game. All in all, what we need don't require good teams. Just need to win out for our mental. But I have more to say. I'm sure you do, dude. I'm sure you do. I don't think we're winning out, though, Caleb. I'm not sure where winning out, where you see winning out. We got to go to Buffalo in December. Brian, rest in peace to your mom, man. Shout out to her for loving Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles was a legend. I love Darren Sproles too. But rest in peace to your mom, Brian. Hope everything is good, bro. Rest in peace to Mrs. Waddington, the legendary Mrs. Waddington. R.I.P. Brian. R.I.P. I'm not afraid of much. I'm afraid of the day I lose my parents, man. I love my parents. God willing, I make it. Flexing saying, Flexing saying, pack this season up. Duke of Earl says he ran into contact for a first down this past game. Stop the cap bullshit. I don't know, dude. Are you telling me that you really think Jalen is running the same way now as he was in 22? Like, dude, if you want to tell me there's a couple plays, all right, I'll listen to you. But you're going to tell me from a macro right now that Jalen Hurts is running the same way he was in 22? Come, Duke. This is where I don't like football conversation. It's like, bro, if you want to be in the middle or you want to tell me I'm wrong about something, fine. But don't be delusional. He's not running the ball the same as he was in 22. Come on, this is not a subject for debate. This is not even a debatable conversation. This is a stone cold fact. He doesn't run the ball the same now. Oh my gosh. See, some people really just, whatever. They aren't drawing up the same runs for him. That is correct. Okay, Duke. All right, Earl. That's what you think. You're entitled to your opinion. Rachel says, yeah, I thought I remembered that too. First 3-4 games, he ran like his old self. I don't know about that. He ran. I don't know about his old self. To say he's making business decisions when he ran into contact last game is disrespectful. To be honest with you guys, you find any comment of Jalen Hurts disrespectful. So I really can't take you guys seriously. Any comment of your savior, Jalen Hurts, you guys seem to think is disrespectful. You could literally have someone come on and give a 5-minute diatribe about how much they respect Jalen Hurts' winning, his leadership, his mentality, his whatever, and then say one thing, and you'll call him a hater. Those are the type of people I don't want to talk football with those type of people. I don't want to talk football with those types of people. I don't think that makes any sense. Here's Caleb. What's up, dude? Not saying we will win out, but saying what is necessary for genuine that I agree with. That I agree with. If you want it to be optimistic, I think they got to win out too. But Caleb, I think there's big issues here with the team, man. All right. Barb, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Barb, got to get going. Thank you, Xander. I love when I can catch your show. Barb, thank you for being here. Have a good day. I'm down the middle on what will happen, but I know we can. We can. That's not the question. The question is if we will, I guess. All right. Here's Dro's Zone. Dro, what's up, Dro? I think you're right. He isn't running the same. Jalen isn't my savior. That's the almighty Jesus. Amen, Drozone. That said, most of his good runs been called back by O-line penalty. That is definitely true. I mean, he had a great run the other night, Monday, that got called back. That was a good run. Crunch time run, too. Curtis, Xander is making off. No, that was my point to you. It's not unique at all. It's huge. Is Jalen even top 5 at off-schedule plays? I'd have to look a little deeper on that. I'm not sure, I think it's probably a fair criticism of him at this point, is how good is he at that? In 22, he was the best off-schedule player in the league. It wasn't even close. You know, by the way, all right, and Jalenites are going to be mad at this, but can we just be accurate about something? All right, can we just be accurate about something? So a lot of people say to me, Xander, he was the second in the MVP voting in 22. And he was. He was. He finished second in the MVP voting in 22. You know how many votes there are, first place votes there are? There's 50 voters for the AP NFL MVP award. There's 50 voters, okay? They all list out first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. And there's a point system. Does anybody want to take a guess at how many of 50 votes Jalen Hurts got for first place MVP votes? Anybody want to take a stab at it? There's 50 votes. There's 50 total votes, okay? So any player can get up to 50 first place votes. Jalen got second in the MVP voting that year. He got one first place vote. He got one. One first place vote. Josh Allen got one first place vote. So Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen both had one first place vote, and Patrick Mahomes had 48. So again, it's still a credit to be in that conversation. That's not my point here. It's still a credit to be in the conversation, but like, people are like, he was damn near the MVP. He wasn't. He wasn't. He wasn't really damn near the MVP. This is the quarterbacks around him that year that got the votes. Mahomes got the most votes. Hurts got the second most with one, but he had the most points, barely, over Josh Allen. I guess because he got more second place votes. Is how I would assume there. So Josh Allen he threw for 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 14 picks. Jalen threw for 3,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 6 picks. And Pat Mahomes was 5,250, which is insane. 5,250 yards for Mahomes, 41 touchdowns, and 12 picks. I mean, that's crazy. Joe Burrow, who finished fourth, was 35 touchdowns, 12 picks, 4,500 yards. So, like, you can see Jalen's stat line, much different than those other three quarterbacks. It's always been this style, even in the MVP level season. It's always been this style. But, all right, guys. I mean, I don't know where this team goes from here. This team should beat the shit out of the Raiders. But does it honestly feel to anybody like they're going to beat the shit out of the Raiders? Probably not, right? Probably not. Drozone says Jalen was lead. Dro, you're fine, man. You can't lead the race until the votes come in. The fuck are you talking about? Well, he was leading it in the betting odds. He missed one game. Fuck you talking about, Dro? Dro, are you going to tell me this? If Jalen Hurts didn't get hurt there, Are you going to tell me that Jalen Hurts would have won MVP over Pat Mahomes, who had 5,250 passing yards and 41 touchdown passes? Is that what you're telling me, Drew? You're bending the narrative to fit what you want it to fit. Come on, family. Not rewriting shit. What do you think is more likely? We beat the Commies twice, or we beat the Bills once in a close game? How about neither? I got us going 2-2. I think we go 2-2. Yes. Now that you're correct on, Drew, in terms of he was in that convo when they were 10-1. I actually think Jalen had a fine year in 23. Pumper. Yeah, Z, I don't even think the Jalenites are Eagles fans. Just a bunch of perverts thirsting for the lust of a married man. It's actually really strange. It's a sin if that's the case. I don't lust over anybody. Should never lust over anybody. Not that this is a weird conversation talking about a quarterback, but don't lust over anybody. Day by day, maybe we all move closer to God together. There we go. Hey, what's up, my dude? Zander, what would be worse? We play the Packers or Panthers first in the playoffs? Dude, you do not want to play the Packers first. Z, do you watch WIP? I don't, Steven. No, I work too much, bro. I'm working now. You know, I got stuff to do in between the shows. Then I'm alive 2 to 6. I'm producing Basilio. No, I work late into the night. I have no time to watch WIP. But what I do look at as I do keep my eye on all the Eagles narratives, and I obviously am on social media, so I see the clips and stuff. I see the clips, you know. But I don't like watch WIP. I think they have some talented guys over there. I think they do a decent job. But remember, they paid $10 million to be the voice of to be the official broadcast, you know, partner of the Eagles, which is fine. They're you know, it's good. But you know, there is going to be some things there. Here's Enshawn. All players have down years. Appreciate our QB and players. Hopefully they can bounce back. I think that's fair. Brandon Lewis, you hear the Jeff McClain? Which ones, man? I heard the ones last week about the running and stuff. Is there a new report, Brandon, that I've missed? Is there a new report that I've missed? Brandon, let me know if there's a new report that I've missed. Mo says, Hurts drives me crazy when he has an open wide receiver, then he rolls to the right and throws the ball. Well, Mo, I'm not sure if you were here when we read the scouting report. Yeah, that's kind of what he's been doing for a long time. You know, he's more comfortable with his athleticism than he is sticking in a pocket as it collapses, you know. And the other thing, you know, I'm going to bring something up here. I was thinking about this. I haven't seen this talked about anywhere. This is just something I was thinking about. Might be off the mark, but, you know, a lot of times people talk about the offensive line. And I want to bring something to your attention. Let's just say, for the sake of the conversation, the average time to throw in the NFL is what, 3 seconds? 2.5 seconds? I don't know. What is it? What's the average time to throw? So if Jalen Hurts takes 4 seconds to throw, that's 25 to 50% longer every play that the offensive line has to hold their block. Now extrapolate that out across 50 to 60 snaps a game. Now extrapolate that out to a full season and multiple seasons in a row. And then consider the potential bigger workload that the Eagles offensive line has because, you know, most other offensive lines, think about if you're the offensive line for Matthew Stafford. Boom, ball comes out. Ball comes out 2.5 seconds. Okay, let the guy go. No more threat. Ball's out. Jalen, it might be 3.5 seconds, 4 seconds. That's 50% longer than those offensive lines. Like, does that type of incremental, you know, play after play, week after week, season after season, is that part of the contribution to the degradation of the offensive line? I think it's fair to wonder that, where an off-schedule quarterback who makes plays, who holds the ball a little bit longer because he does make plays, how much does that beat up an offensive line more as compared to a guy who, boom, 2 seconds out? You know, I don't know. I think that's a fair conversation of, you know, 1 second more per play. It might be only 1 second on one play, but now you got that 50 to 60 times a game. Then you got that, week in and week out through a season. Then you got that multiple seasons. And now 4 or 5 years into the Jalen Hurts experience, Landon Dickerson's, well under 30. He's breaking down. Cam Jurgens is well under 30. He's like 26. He's breaking down. Jordan Mailata doesn't look like himself this year. Lane Johnson's breaking down. Now he's 35 years old, so I'm not going to put that on Hurts. But I do wonder how much that, that factors into O-line degradation, where you're just, the incremental of every play and the buildup of that over time. How much has that hurt the offensive line or make life harder on the offensive line? I think that's probably a fair thing. And that's probably true for all dual threat quarterbacks or all quarterbacks who are off schedule. Look at Caleb Williams, probably the same with the Bears. Their offensive line is great this year. How long will they be great? I don't know. But I did think about that and wondered, So maybe this dismisses that. Coyote says Jalen time to throw is 2.9. That's not that bad. That ain't bad at all. Is that what his time to throw is? Maybe that would be maybe that would dismiss maybe that would dismiss what I just said. That's pretty low. Let me look up the average time to throw. No, I don't want that. Why is it not coming up on Next Gen Stats? They normally give me this. They normally give me the go stats. Passing. There we go. Here's time to throw. Yeah, see, Caleb is the longest time to throw in the league. Hurts is the 5th slowest time to throw in the league. But the fastest is only 2.5 seconds. So it's only a half a second different. Really 0.8 seconds of a difference, 0.8 of a difference. So nothing crazy there. Maybe that's a little bit overstated then by me. But I don't know. It just feels like, the offensive line sometimes has to hold so long, Here's a Pump. Yeah, see, I don't even think – I already got that one. Yeah. All right, then. Pump. Thanks, Pump. All right, man. Appreciate all you guys. I don't know where this team is. I think they got to win this weekend. And I think they're going to win this weekend. They're playing the Raiders, right? Everybody feel like they're going to win this weekend? Everybody feel like they're going to win this weekend? Does anybody think they're not going to win this weekend? Believe your eyes, Z. Brandon, I do for the most part. I think you can say that. HKP says no. Go Birds, no. Come on, guys. Waddington, I think so. I think so, too. Reyes says big win. Abe says we're losing. Big Mike says yes. Denny, it's a toss-up. I would agree with that. Motorskit Gary says no. Man, Gary, you're somebody I viewed as an optimist coming into the year. It looks longer because nothing is scheduled. It's almost always off script. Shady, I agree. Thank you for that take. I'm not optimistic moving forward. Devin, I'm losing optimism quick. An L wouldn't shock me. I could easily see us losing. If they lose, get rid of everyone. That might happen, bro. Here's Rizlo. What's up, Rizlo? Appreciate the Superman. They aren't running plays that they don't allow them to pass quickly. They always scheme something downfield. That's fair. The route concepts, maybe. Rizzo, I struggle with this because I see it too. But I'm also told by John, and he says it on the show, apparently that's for Jalen. He tells me that the route concepts and the things that they run are explicitly because of Jalen Hurts. Like, he likes them. He says, I like these are the plays I like. I don't know if it's true. I don't know, dude. And then you go back to the scouting report, Rizlo, which again, it's old. It's not like he's the same exact player, but there was the comment there that he struggles to identify early throws quick, and you heard Troy talking about that the other night too. So, yeah, Brandon, did you ever follow up on this Jeff McClain's report? Let me look it up. Are you talking about the Tanner thing? I think that's what you're talking about. So, I don't know. A lot of good conversation, man. A lot of good conversation, but Eagles got to get right. I don't know if they are. I'm losing confidence in the season in terms of really being a contender. You know, it's like basically out the window. But I'm not going to lose all confidence. I'm not going to lose all hope. I'll remain somewhat hope. But we'll see what happens. All right. Love all you guys, man. I appreciate all you guys for being here. Thanks to the Super Chats today. Thanks to everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button on the show. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here today. Hit that like button. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.